All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the October 30th, 2025 work session to order. I show the time at 9:02. I show we have a quorum. The only one we're missing is Jamie. Is he down?
He's in, we're missing Bob.
Oh, Bob and Jamie. Sorry, Bob.
Jamie's remote.
Jamie's on remote, okay. Next up, I'd like to consider allowing remote participation. I'll need a motion.
So moved.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, adoption of the agenda. Do we have some changes?
No.
No changes? I'd like to have the agenda
I'll
approved.
make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'd
Motion
like to have
passes.
something this morning.
Sorry, hockey night is Wednesday night for me, so it was a late night, so. Next up, adoption of the previous minutes. You guys get a chance to read all these? Any questions? All right, need a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes from 10/14/25 as presented.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have feedback from previous public comment period.
Oh, I do have something. So I saw this. It was actually very, I think it's very positive. But, so for the oath of office that we have to take, in it, it says, "I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, and I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof." Nowhere in there does it say anything about obeying every passing mood of the crowd. This is somebody else's post, but I thought it was really appropriate for what is currently going on with election season. So I just thought it was like really good. We're to uphold the Constitution and laws. That is the difference between a representative democracy and mob rule. So just think of what our actual oath of office is and this contingency that is out there that is basically like either you do what we say or you'll be canceled. And I just thought that was a very appropriate post that somebody made. Very positive post.
Well, you know, Kim, that holds true to like the entire area, because we're seeing this in, not just in Marvin, but, you know, Waxhaw, Weddington, all around. It seems to be the latest trend, which is pretty concerning, so.
I just thought it was very interesting, so that's all.
All right, any other comments? All right, next up, presentations. First up, we have the presentation of the Retail Recruitment Initiative by Rachel Holtzman, Assistant Director, Union County Economic Development. It doesn't, it's just shut. This thing drives me crazy.
Joe, the top bar, just touch it and
I did, and
it'll
it
expand.
did, I know, but it did, is what I'm saying.
Oh.
But now it just did.
Mine did, so I don't know.
All right. Good morning.
I'm running it off my computer, so I have to.
Good morning, Mayor.
You have to just hit it one time, it's not on.
Green light.
Good morning, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and Manager Amos. Thank you for inviting me to be here today. As some of you, I have not had the opportunity to meet yet. My name is Rachel Holzman, and I serve as the Assistant Director for Union County Economic Development. I'm also a lifelong resident of Union County. I graduated from Cuthbertson High School and went on to NC State University, of which I then joined our Economic Development Department just 2 weeks after graduation. So being able to serve the same community that helped raise me is very important to me. Again, thank you for having me this morning. I'm excited to share a brief overview of our expanded retail recruitment initiative, which now extends across all 14 of our municipalities in Union County. Before we dive into the retail initiative, I'd like to give a quick refresher on what economic development really does. Our mission is pretty simple. It's to create job opportunities, increase the local tax base, and enhance the quality of life for all of our Union County residents. Everything that we do ties back to these three missions. Currently, our county's residential to non-residential tax base ratio is about 90% residential to 10% non-residential. A more balanced mix, one that provides long-term sustainability and reduces the tax burden on our residents, is closer to a 60-40% ratio. And that's one of the big drivers behind our retail recruitment efforts. To move forward with that balance, our economic development team focuses on 5 key factors, or key sectors. Number 1 being precision manufacturing, then we have food systems, office headquarters, healthcare, and retail, which of course is what we're focusing on today. Our partnership with Retail Strategies began back in 2018. They're a national retail recruitment firm that specializes in connecting local communities with the right retailers, those that align with the community's needs and their character. Now that our economic development team operates fully under Union County's leadership, we've expanded that partnership to cover all the municipalities, of course, including Village of Marvin. Our 2 primary contacts at Retail Strategies are Joshua Davis and Zach Price. Think of them as an extension to our economic development team. Joshua focuses on municipal engagement and outreach, while Zach manages the relationships with property owners, local developers, and national retail brands. They were here back in August for their annual in-person visit, where we hosted a county-wide luncheon to connect them directly with our municipal partners. So Retail Strategies looks beyond just a number. Yes, they use data analysis, but they combine that with local insight to identify the smart retail opportunities for the region. The Village of Marvin stands out for a few reasons. You have a high household or rooftop count, a strong medium income level, and a close proximity to the Charlotte market. But just as important, Marvin is committed to intentional sustainable growth, preserving its natural beauty and charm, which makes it especially attractive to upscale, experiential retailers who value the community identity. Over the past 8 years, with our partnership with Retail Strategies, they have helped bring a range of successful retail projects. And to keep that momentum going here in Marvin, our next step is to continue working closely with your staff, identifying the available properties, preparing marketing materials, and sharing that information with Retail Strategies so they can present it directly to their corporate partners. And thank you for your time this morning. I'm excited about Marvin's potential, and our team is here to help you position the village to the right kind of retail growth, and I'm here to answer any questions or explain further that, yep.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you. You hit on a couple of things that are extremely important to Marvin residents and us trying to help guide the village in positive ways. But you know, I've actually been doing some research with Jill myself on our own situation, and it's very interesting that I saw 90-10. You know, that's Union County kind of across the board.
Yes, sir.
And you know, because I've been wondering about this, what is the right mix for a municipality? And many of the different things I've looked up, they'll say 80-20. Or 60-40, and I think to myself, well, Marvin's never going to be that, you know, but is 90-10 a right mix? Is 95-5 a right mix for Marvin? And I said, well, do we even know what that number is? And we didn't a week ago, so I worked with Jill, and, you know, just, it's important because we're also concerned about taxes. We've had the revaluations. Taxes are going up both at the local level here in Marvin, but also at the county. And essentially, you know, these are ways that you can offset the amount that falls on residents versus commercial. So both of these things work hand in hand, but Marvin's number was 1.6%. So 1.6%. And that, to me, was really kind of a shocking number. I knew we'd be low, but not necessarily that low.
Just for clarity, can you specify 1.1% what? What do you?
1.6% of, not the sales taxes, because they go to the county, but talking about the property taxes that are provided to the village, the amount that comes from residential versus, am I correct there, Jill, in the numbers we looked up? But the amount in terms of that comes from any of our commercial properties currently,
Commercial is 1% of revenues is what you're saying?
1.6.
Okay, just making sure.
Of the total property value.
Just making sure for
1.6%.
clarity for people listening at home, they can hear it.
Understood.
But that's how you're reading it, and the 90-10, the numbers is based on
Your residential versus non-residential. So it sounds like in this case, you would have a 98.4% residential to 1.6 non-residential.
Correct, and, you know, my understanding in the research I've been doing is that when you talk about services needing to be provided, there's a lot less of that you need to support commercial. And I in no way am saying Marvin's gonna become some commercial growth engine or anything like that. But I'm just saying, when you look at a healthy municipality having to have a balance, it was kind of shocking to me where that imbalance is. And I think that's because Marvin's always been careful with our commercial growth, and we continue to be. And that's going to change because we've already approved some things that'll be different to get that more in balance. But right now, our current balance is still 1.6%. But just an interesting fact. And you know, I knew you were coming here, but I didn't know what your presentation was going to be. But it's something that Jill and I have been talking about as far as the budget's concerned.
Given that, okay, so the next question I have is, where do you see us needing to head? I mean, like, what would our percentage, should it look like to be
Yeah.
healthy?
To make sure, did you have a question that you would like for me to specifically answer? I don't want to make sure
it was just kind of, you know,
Okay, yeah.
without knowing what your presentation was per se coming
It
in this morning,
aligned
was
with
just something that
conversation.
hit off, yeah.
I just wanted to make
And-
sure I
but
didn't
really,
miss
the 90-10,
answering
I
anything.
wanted to make sure that what I was measuring was what you were measuring.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah. So as far as your question, sir, as where do we see Village of Marvin falling into what a healthy ratio looks like? Is that correct? So exactly, to both of your points, it is very subjective on what it is that you all are looking for. Of course, coming from a county perspective, a healthier ratio for an entire county, statistically and based on different economic development models, is a 60-40 ratio. So there are a lot more services that a county would provide to each of its municipalities and the residents. So that's why that ratio is maybe more split a little bit more evenly. Looking at a municipality, in particular, looking at Village of Marvin, where you are predominantly residential, it historically seems to look like you've been conservative on trying to recruit industrial or commercial growth into your community and really focusing on the residential. You probably are not going to get down to that 60-40 ratio, and that's probably not healthy for what you're looking for either, what your goals and what your residents are looking for either. So we're in no way trying to come in and tell you that you're doing it all wrong and that you need to get down to that 60-40. Really what it's looking for are there different retail amenities that you are looking for, and if so, how can we work alongside you all to help bring those into your community, maybe even from a county regional standpoint even. So if there's something that you are interested in recruiting, maybe you're not necessarily looking for it specifically in the Village of Marvin, but it's something that you're looking for in a county in a holistic view, we're all ears to hear that and to try and support what it is you're looking for. So I don't have a specific ratio that I would recommend you all stay at. What I would recommend is looking at the balance between increasing your local property taxes and what you're trying to glean as far as providing and services back to your residents and community members. And if you're needing to create a healthier balance on who does the cost for service fall onto. So if you're seeing a disparity there, then I would recommend trying to bring in more commercial or light industrial type uses. I know that wasn't a specific answer, but there's not really a good one to share either.
I can understand that. I I know that there's been some talk, especially in Waxhaw recently, about their numbers, ratio numbers, and how they're trying to develop. We're certainly nowhere near Waxhaw or anything like that, but I've been hearing a lot talking about this very thing. And while we don't want to commercialize Marvin, that's absolutely not what we're looking to do, but from my observation, and I think I'm probably in the right direction, is that offsetting some of the tax burden onto commercial would keep the taxes low for the services that we provide.
Correct.
So,
And not just for the village of Marvin, because we also pay county taxes. So any of the commercial that goes into Marvin also increases the burden on commercial versus residential from a county tax standpoint. And then the county also has its formula where sales taxes and things like that, also get added to the county and then dispersed through formulas back to the municipalities. So, to the extent that we're helping Union County change that burden a little bit, because Marvin, like we've all said in the past, we're very selective. Our ordinances are built to be selective and deliberate in how we do go through the process of developing any commercial. But yeah, it's just so interesting that, and it may have been the conversations that were going on in Waxhaw about the ratio that kind of triggered me. Well, where are we? I don't think we know that number. Well, now we do.
But I think what we're hearing is there's no magic number, but the magic number comes within the standing council.
Correct.
What does the community want? Because
Correct.
we hear it all the time. That's almost a swear word, commercial. And there could be some nice shops in here that really fill this in and create a vibrant community and walkability and all those things we're trying to do. So don't be so concerned, I guess, when we're talking about that, but this is good information. Any other questions? Thank you.
Mayor,
Yeah, sorry.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Rachel, first off, I want to thank you for coming in and providing this presentation for us, but I think it's important for some clarity here. This is a Union County initiative. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, sir. This is a Union County initiative and a service provided through our economic development budget to each of the municipalities if they're interested in engaging in the retail strategies contract.
And this presentation is shared with, I'm assuming, with all the other municipalities throughout Union County?
If they are interested in having the presentation, then yes.
Okay. And so this is not something that Marvin initiated or said, okay, we're looking at doing this. We're just tagging on to, and I think doing our part in this is saying, we at least want to understand what Union County is doing as a whole, and just being a part of this presentation, but in no sense of this is it, we were the one that initiated this, we're the one that wanted to go out and grow commercial and get to whatever that magic number is, or if there is a magic number. I don't believe that there is, quite honestly. But I just wanted some clarity in that, because I don't want people out there thinking that your presentation today was initiated by this council and we're wanting to put in a Home Depot. Because I can assure you, somewhere along the way that after this is done, you'll find several posts of saying Marvin wants a Walmart and a Home Depot coming in. But so I think clarity is important here, that you've come here, and I certainly appreciate your presentation and what the county is doing. I also would like to dig deeper into it, because I think there's mixed signals going out, because there's people on the county commissioners that are saying, no, we don't want growth here. We want to keep it the way it is. And then you've got this going on where they're initiating, or they're putting together a program to bring commercial, whether it's in retail or industrial into Union County. So there's some mixed messages there. I would certainly like to learn more about what their vision is, because there's just really needs to be some clarity around that. But I do appreciate you coming in. I wanted to make sure that there was clarity around the point of the reason you did come in and why you came in, and I certainly appreciate that.
And I am happy to provide additional clarity at the appropriate time when needed, and I am happy to answer any questions from your residents if you would like to direct them towards me. Your team has my contact information. It's on the county website as well, but I'm happy to provide any clarification to them. Yes, this is a county-wide initiative. Originally, in our previous iterations of our Economic Development Office, the service was just provided to City of Monroe and a few of the municipalities that were interested in paying for the retail strategy services out of their own direct budget. Now that my team is directly with Union County and officially 100% a department of the county only, the service is coming 100% as well out of our economic development budget, and is a service provided if you are interested to each of the municipalities. Not every municipality at this point has engaged on the retail strategies contract. If you are all not interested at any point, we're happy to share that with our retail strategies team. But we are also here to present this service as an opportunity if you're interested. And again, this is to support you all in your strategic planning. This is not to come in and tell you what you all need to do. We're not trying to bring in a Home Depot. If you don't want a Home Depot, if you want a Home Depot, then we can talk about maybe a great location for it to be. But this is supposed to support your community and what you all are looking for it to create. Yes, sir.
I have a question, in terms of if we were to engage with you, we may rezone a piece of property that may go from, rural residential or something to commercial, right? But we're not the developers.
Correct.
Developers are the ones that are typically engaging with retail partners, either that they have worked with before or that are just organically growing, nice local businesses that, so startups, things like that. So do you work directly with developers as part of this strategy? Because, you put up all the placards for the different businesses that, you partner with, right? But we're not in the development business. We're in the government business. And
Yes.
so what is that real interaction, though? And is it really between us, or is it with you and the developers that are within our municipalities?
Yes, great question. No, it is a probably range of different relationships and conversations on how we would recruit these specific businesses to your community and how we would work with the developer. So economic development is a public developer. You could think of us in that sense. We do have relationships with local developers and brokers, and retail strategies themselves have relationships with different developers and brokers. A lot of our relationships fall more on the industrial side, sort of like the bread and butter of traditional economic development, which is why we've partnered with retail strategies, as they hold better relationships and develop retail on a more day-to-day basis than, again, our traditional industrial economic development model looks like. So we pulled the experts in. Zach Price on our immediate team handles and holds most of those relationships with developers and with the confidential retail companies. And so in working with you all, with me and our director, Ron Mayo, and with the retail strategies team, that group is how we will help recruit those retail companies and have those conversations with the developers. So we will help facilitate those conversations with you included. So this isn't you tell us one thing and then we go off and do whatever. This is a group effort to recruit what it is you are all looking for.
And Rachel, how much is this going to cost the Village of Marvin?
It costs nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
This will cost the Village of Marvin and any municipality within Union County nothing. This comes directly from Union County Economic Development's annual budget.
Wonderful, thank you. So nothing, zero, zilch,
$0.
none, nada?
None.
Sense the jadedness.
Thank you.
And-
I also want to just highlight, John, Councilman Barisic, thank you for taking the time to look up numbers. And again, it's something that we can work off of, but that's something until today, we probably never knew what that number was. So again, this initiates more conversation, but when you're talking about less than 2%, maybe there's something we do look at. And again, I'm not advocating for anything, but when you have a number that low, is there room? And that's all I'm asking. But thanks, Councilman Barisic for digging into that and finding that number for us.
Any other, oh, Wayne?
It's 1.6%. How do you measure that? Square footage of commercial space, the money that they pay in taxes to the Union County?
It's your ad valorem taxes.
Okay.
Yep, of your residents, of what they pay, and your non-residents within your community. Yes, sir? Yep. We're here to partner with Marvin. In previous years, in our former iterations of our office, we did not have the ability to directly outreach and work with each of our municipalities on a personal level. And with this new structure being, again, with Union County government in its entirety, we're trying to build our relationships with each of the municipalities and work with you all in the capacity that you are looking for.
So it kind of is bringing me to another point, if you will.
I didn't say anything.
We have an interesting relationship here back and forth. She knows where I'm going with this. No. Question. Is it true that obviously for years we were a dry county? Beer, and then we passed recently beer and wine. However, the reason developers want to get into municipalities is because that allows them to offer liquor by the drink, which brings in the higher end restaurants. Is that correct?
I am willing to do research to pull on its complete validity. However, I would say that would make sense in bringing in higher-end restaurants that typically serve alcohol, but I do not have that in a factual capacity right now.
Okay, but there, just to be clear, there's a difference between the beer and wine, which, you know, and I'm all for nice restaurants, but a lot of the, you know, and with that comes, okay, security and police, we get that, because when we had not a Walmart, but a 16-screen theater being asked to be put in to support 5,000 people, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But along with that, depending on what goes in there, the uses that we talk about, what we allow in there and what we won't allow in there affect other things. But I've been told that and just would want.
I could see the correlation, however, that is not on a factual basis. I'm happy to dig into that further for you. Another part of these conversations, diving deeper into our strategic plan and how would we help recruit the businesses that you are specifically looking for, come with different conditions, developer agreements, and so on. So you could limit or be more selective on the type of business that comes into a specific shopping development or parcel. So if you're looking for a business that does not serve various forms of alcohol, then that could be potentially something we put into a developer agreement to help limit that.
I have no other questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. I assume no one else has any other comments, questions? Austin, make a note, she wants to be on Nextdoor, an account set up for her, specifically Marvin, to answer any questions to residents and stuff.
I would not do that.
I'm kidding, obviously, so thank you, Rachel.
Thank you all
Appreciate
for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, I'm showing, see, here I am, pushing. You s-
Because there's nothing else to say, that's the whole thing.
Okay, well, I just didn't want to be in the middle of my conversation. Presentation for Jeff Emery, Community Economic Development Planner with the NC Department of Commerce. Welcome, Jeff.
Got it. Thanks, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and council members and staff. I guess it's appropriate that I would follow the presentation from Rachel because it is similar in nature. But my name is Jeff Emery. I'm from the North Carolina Main Street and Rural Planning Center. Let me take just a moment. State government can be complicated because there's so many layers. I am with the Department of Commerce, and under Commerce, there's different layers. And I'm with the North Carolina Main Street and Rural Planning Center, Rural Economic Development Division. I've been with Commerce about 8.5 years. And prior to that, I tell people in my first life, I was a city manager for almost 30 years. I retired from local government, and now I've worked with state government for about 8.5 years. If you'll. What do we do? Who are we? The mission of the Department of Rural Economic Development Division, the Main Street and Rural Planning Center works in regions, counties, cities, towns, districts, and in designated Main Street communities to inspire placemaking through building asset-based economic development strategies that achieve measurable results such as investment, business growth, and jobs. Don't look too hard at that picture there. That's our team, and I'm not in it. They didn't keep me out, but that picture was made at our last Main Street conference. My granddaughter was in the NIC unit at the time in Concord, and I couldn't be there. But that is our team. There are 8 prosperity zones in North Carolina. The prosperity zone concept was created around 2013 when Governor McCrory was in office, and the idea was to have various offices in state government set up in regions. And then I'm the Community Economic Development Planner with the Southwest region. You see us in the purple color there. I actually live and work out of Lincolnton. That's where I last served as city manager for 18.5 years, and my wife and I just decided to make that our home after I retired. So we're one of the largest prosperity zones population-wise. Of course, a lot of that's driven by Charlotte. If you'll go ahead, please. Again, what do we do? This is important. We provide 4 basic services: strategic economic development planning, technical assistance, training and education, and grants. And I'll talk a little bit more about these as we move forward. Strategic economic development planning, this is what I'm really here for today. We do community economic development plans, 1-year plans. We do strategic economic development plans, 5-year plans. We've undertaken a creating outdoor recreation economy. We call that our core program plans, 1-day visioning workshops, asset mapping, and project development and implementation. An implementation plan is what we are proposing for the village of Marvin. We do a lot of training and education. We do economic development workshops and other regional and statewide training. North Carolina Main Street Conference. We have the largest Main Street conference in the nation. Community-specific training for development and implementation, and research and information sharing. Technical assistance, project development, funding and resource identification, community opportunities, mapping and analysis, local policy and ordinance review. We help communities with GIS mapping, disaster recovery services. We've spent a lot of time since Helene, Governor Cooper, and then now Governor Stein has used Commerce a lot with Western North Carolina hurricane recovery, and then other economic development planning assistance. Grants, we also work with Appalachian Regional Commission. ARC grants have been in place since the 60s. Within the last couple of years, the Southeast Crescent Regional Commission has been formed. Every county in North Carolina that's not in ARC, there's about 30 ARC counties, the other 70 counties, which Union is one of, is now eligible for Southeast Crescent Regional Commission funds. We have downtown rural economic development grants, and we help communities identify other funding sources. Our rural planning program approach to community economic building is focused around 3 areas. I'll talk about these in more detail in a minute, but we look at capacity building, economic advancement, and placemaking. This is a little bit digest the first time you see it, but we start all of our projects with creating a vision. And to get to that vision, we will come in and talk about your community assets, economic drivers. We'll do a market assessment, a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And from that vision, we create strategies, goals, project development. We identify actions, projects, and then tasks. Next, please. And again, this is our approach. To the left, you see community-led vision and market assessment, local strategy-based actions and projects. Under that, again, you see our capacity building initiative, economic advancement, placemaking, and out of that will come measurable economic results. Capacity building, that is based on your organization and structure, strategic planning and implementation, leadership development and collective action, community engagement, that's critical. I'll talk to you more about that in a minute when I lay out our proposed plan for Marvin. Communications, building economic support tools, and resource identification and funding. Economic advancement, it is based on asset-based economy building, economic assessment and market knowledge, public services and infrastructure, entrepreneurial and business support, retention and recruitment, housing, healthcare, and education. And then placemaking, development and enhancement of a community's character in public spaces and programming, revitalization and reactivation of community assets, strengthening social connections and value, and stewardship of natural assets. This may be the most important slide I show you today because this is specific to the Village of Marvin. We are proposing to create an implementation plan specific to the Heritage District. Our deliverables will include a vision statement, an economic development strategies, goals, projects, and actions. The process will include a site tour, which we have already completed. Christina has helped us do that. We had a really, really good tour. We had a follow-up conversation, and that brought us to this point. All projects, we require that the governing body adopt an MOU and a resolution. And of course, I like to come to the governing body before that. I believe that MOU and resolution will be on your November 10th agenda. But I like to come to the governing body and at least tell you about our services, and that's what I'm trying to do today. If you want to proceed with this project, The next thing, and I also should mention, I have a partner that will help us. Her name is Lizzie Morrison. She has the same role I have in the Northwest region. She lives in Mount Airy. Lizzie is a former Main Street manager, so she brings a lot of expertise to her. She's just super good at visioning and being able to, just from her downtown background, she's really, really good. She will be assisting me. We are proposing that there will be 2 local work group meetings. The one thing that village would be required to do is to form local work groups. We put that in your hands. We can help guide you on the type of people or backgrounds we think should be on those work groups. I apologize, I omitted one of the most important things. We will also want to have a visioning session that we will allow your community to attend. We strongly believe in community input. We will take the work group meetings and the community forum. We will draft a plan for you to review. We'll let staff be involved with that process. And then at the end of the project, we will do an implementation plan presentation to the governing body. If you adopt the MOU at your November meeting, we would not recommend any work group meetings start or the community forum until after the holidays. I mean, we're too close to Christmas now to, beginning groups together. Probably start in January. This whole process would normally take, I would say, 3 or 4 months, to be honest. But hopefully late winter, early spring, we could have something to you. I don't want to leave this slide quite yet. But again, you will have a plan that will make recommendations and strategies. We toured and the Heritage District is what you actually call the district adjacent to us in your zoning map. And we think it's crucial. We also talked extensively about the fact that you're getting ready to do a comprehensive plan. We know that. But we think by taking maybe a closer look to the Heritage District than you may be getting from the comp plan, we think that makes a lot of sense. And just like the county said, what their services are free, the good news is, as a state department, we do this at no charge. The only thing you may have a charge for, and you will see in the MOU, we have language in there that talks about reimbursement for mileage and lodging and meals. There will be no lodging required. I'm close enough that I will not require lodging, and Lizzie will not require lodging as well. That we may ask you to provide a couple of meals to the work group, but it would be something minimal. There would not be any great costs. But you will not actually pay. When I tell people our services are free, I guess they're technically not, because as state taxpayers, you're paying my salary and our department's salary, but you will not get a bill for this project from us. I got a few more slides, but I know I've gone through a lot real quick, but let me at least go through this slide, and then I'm going to stop and ask for any questions. But here again is our, just another chart that shows how we work. We'll start with the community vision. We'll then develop strategies, and then we'll get more focused on the plan. Then we talk about building trust with the public. That's why we think it's so critical to have public engagement, and then we call it incremental transformation. I also want to point out that Hunter has been a really, really big help on all this. He was involved with the tour. He's been involved helping explain to us, talk more about the Heritage District and some potential opportunities there.
And I'll just note too, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The implementation strategy that you guys are putting in place will be very well-written to include types of steps and language that they are aware of, different various grants that are out there. So it's kind of laying the groundwork for us, so to say, on future grant funding as well.
That's an excellent point. We've learned, I mean, it's very obvious, communities that have plans, now, I don't want to pretend that this plan automatically is going to get you money, but we've learned our grant programs through Commerce and other grant programs, having a plan only helps you in pursuing that. I mean, we just see that over and over. So hopefully this can be a help if you pursue funding. The one thing I'll also mention is, and these are very, very preliminary talks. It was really interesting to me as a former manager, the talk about your the taxes and commercial versus residential, and we just had some very, very, very preliminary talks. And I know the mayor, you asked the question about the restaurants and things, but one thing that struck us is just from a very preliminary a drive through the village here is, you've got so many, just it's such a residential area. We may make some recommendations on things you may want. Like, if you don't want them, we won't put them in there. But like a couple of nice restaurants or something like that. But we'll take a look at this. I mean, this is what we do, and we also look at some market analysis information, maybe very similar to what Union County is going to do. We have access to the placer analysis info and some other information that we'll use as well. I mean, the communities we work with, knock on wood, I don't know of any that haven't seemed to really appreciate and like the plans we do for them. These are just a couple of shots that I'll go through these real quick, but just a couple of shots that are real life examples of communities that you see the before and after. An economic position statement is the vision for the economic role your town will play in the greater economy. Your economic position statement is what your community can achieve and how your town will be different from other areas. Next. I should have had the communities, but that's a live picture of how a back of a building looked and what a community turned it into. Next. That's an alley on the left and what it became. Once again, a before and after. Pretty neat stuff. You saw the one on the left, there's the one on the right. There's another one, a block in a town and the transformation afterwards. I love this one here. You look at the side of that building, they turned it into a park, and some community must have really liked John Mellencamp because they turned it into a John Mellencamp mural. Maybe that was his hometown or something. But anyway, just some examples of visioning. I think that's the important here, and you can go on. Again, communities are doing really, really cool things with crosswalks. And this is the presentation. And again, there's my contact information. Jeff Emery, Community Economic Development Planner, Southwest Prosperity Zone. Hunter and Christina know how to get up with me. I am always available to answer questions, phone, email. We would love to do a project with your community. Again, you've got the MOU coming up and the resolution. I'm happy if you want to send any questions to your staff.
Jeff, real quick, when you talk about grants, give me an example of that grant, I assume comes from the state, And what would a typical grant be and be used for? Is it to change what looks like a back alley to a park? Or what is that typical grant used for, and what does it, I mean, what's the range of the grant, I guess?
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of regentrification type there, and that's not really a Marvin thing.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah. go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah, and I think part of the purpose of those slides were just showing the visioning part of it. But we have grants, and, you know, most of the grant programs Commerce runs, well, I'm not talking about the SCRC grant program that I was talking about, but the Commerce grants are more normally in probably the $50,000 to $200,000 range. And they can assist with something like, we even have building rehab programs, which you probably don't have a lot of buildings in Marvin that are going to need to be rehabbed. But we've even got grants that can go a step further in planning for an architectural type grant for maybe a building or something like that. Something that maybe even could help with a contractor to construct a new structure. Or I mentioned restaurants earlier, building growth, or there are various programs we have that could potentially help. Not real high dollar grants through Commerce, but there are some things out there.
I guess when I hear economic development, the first thing for me that comes to mind is I don't think Marvin is like an economic engine or anything. We're a community of homes, and we want, a heritage district for like a walkable, light retail is what we've, I think, all shared and envisioned, not necessarily something where it's an employer of large, a large employer in this area. But that's kind of what when I heard economic development, I'm like, is that really something that we're needing for that? But if there's grants, the only thing I can think of, because we don't have any buildings, the only thing I can think of, there's always talk of how do you safely get from one side of the community in this crazy busy roadway here with roundabouts. How do you get from one side to the other if there was light retail on each side and you wanted it walkable? I mean, there's talk about, you've seen what they did in Waxhaw, where you go over the train, that's a bridge. That I can't imagine what that would cost.
And I'll tell you this, Mayor, our vision for the Heritage District is not to create a bunch of commercial retail in there. I came across it, I don't think that's the vision. Maybe some, but, and maybe you're right, maybe economic development for this particular project might not be the best term, but it may be some sort of orderly growth, and we know you've got the park there. But I think maybe just to look at it a little bit close, and again, let me point this out. Everything we do is a recommendation. We're not a regulatory state agency. So, and part of the appeal of the work group and the visioning, we want to base the plan on what you want. We're not going to come in here and say, well, this is what we think as state employees. I live in Lincoln, and Lizzie lives in Mount Airy. We want to take the input of the work group and your public in general and craft the plan around that.
So, one of the things, still, again, kind of unique to Marvin, we're not doing much regentrification. It's, what things are coming are generally new. But really, Marvin is almost restricted by our own geography at this point. We're probably 90 to 95% built out. There's not many large lots left available to develop residential or commercial in Marvin at this point. Any of that future growth might come through annexation opportunities or things like that. But the general consensus, you know, through councils of 30 years of Marvin has been, there's been two natural corridors for any sort of development that might be commercial or slightly higher density, which would be Ray Road and Providence Road. You know,
Right.
those are already kind of moving down the road and developing that way, and we recently approved one that's similar, you know, at Ray and Tom Short. But then we also developed this heritage district starting back in like 2015 and went through an entire process of, you know, what type of uses, all of those things in our most recent MDO. So really, I'm guessing you see the heritage district as kind of that only area, but even that's going to be made up by a number of developers. So again, kind of like my question to the other group is, do you work sometimes in conjunction directly with the developers or just with the municipalities as you're trying to create these larger visions?
I would say we would not be working with the developers. We will be working with the municipality and your general public.
Really for the planning aspects?
Yes, yes,
and
sir.
things like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we would not be working with developers.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate the time and the information provided.
Thank you for allowing me to come.
All right.
And again, I want to thank your staff for being so good and providing us all the information we've needed so far. So thank you.
Thank you. We'd like our staff too. All right. Let's see where we at here. Next up, presentation from Gardner Payne, Marvin Ridge High Boosters, and consider adoption of resolution of support. Welcome.
Hey, good
How are you,
morning.
sir?
Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Gardner Payne. I'm the chair of the Marvin Ridge Mavericks Athletic Booster Club. I'm here with Debbie Messner, who's also an officer on that for our club. We're both residents here in Marvin, of course. Both actually live over in Firethorn. So again, thank you for having us here. I should have brought more of a presentation to explain a little bit about who the board is, but this is my first time, so I apologize. I'll let you know. You know, the purpose of our board is really to serve as a liaison between parents and the administration. It's also there to help with the projects that the administration has identified as priorities, to help those projects come to fruition and get over the finish line. And that's one of the reasons that we're here today. One of the projects that both the middle school and high school administration have identified as a priority for our school over at Marvin is to increase the size and expand our existing weight room and strength and conditioning facilities. So we're here just to let you know a little bit about that project and ask for your support, not financially, but just through your vocal support. Just a little bit of a background. When Marvin High School was built, we had a little less than 1,000 students. You know, fast forward today, we have over 2,000 students. We also have close to 900 student athletes. So we have many student athletes as the school is designed to hold total students. And these student athletes are using the facilities that were designed for a school of 1,000 students. The weight room and the weight and conditioning room is one of those areas that is under enormous stress, given the number of student athletes we have. Marvin is really one of the top, we say 5, but normally we're one of the top 1 or 2 schools in the state as far as the number of student athletes. We have student athletes that participate in every school, in every sport that's offered by the county, and then additional sports that aren't even offered by the county, club sports like female flag football, men's volleyball, every single sport that you could possibly play, Marvin has student athletes. So we think it's important, not just for our young people's general health, but we think it's important for them to have a sense of community, friendship that teaches them discipline. It's just having student athletes involved in sports is important on a lot of different levels. Right now, with our strength in our weight room, because of the stress on it, we have to open it up like 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we're generally running till late in the evening, 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. Oftentimes, you'll go to our school and the weight room is full, and then there's a hallway with 2 doors, and our students sort of revolve. Some students will wait in the hall. When others finish with equipment, they'll come out. Those students rotate back in. And it's not a matter of when something, accident's going to happen. I mean, if something's going to happen, it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. So our school and our administration has identified that as a priority for us to try to expand. In 2023, we went to the Union County Board of Education and asked for permission for us to raise private dollars to expand the existing facility. So no money would come from the county. We understand with the enormous pressure you folks feel and the county feels from a financial standpoint, and that a lot of the funds that we have, given the growth of this county, have to be used in the classroom and just to improve the existing infrastructure of schools. So we're not asking to take any money away from any kind of tax dollars. We're just asking for permission from the county to allow us to raise private donations from our families to expand our existing weight room facility. They denied that request in 2023, but obviously the need for it has not gone away. I currently frequently meet with both the Cuthbertson and the Weddington Booster Club presidents, and coincidentally, they have identified the same need at their schools. So we then, a couple of months ago, jointly went back to the Union County Board of Education, the school board rather, and asked them to reconsider their original denial of this request for us to raise private dollars to expand these facilities. So that's the process we're in right now. At one of their meetings, they said, well, we haven't heard from anyone in the community that this is an important project for you folks, just from y'all. So one of the reasons we're here today, and one of the reasons we're talking to other folks and getting them to write letters, is just to demonstrate to the school board that this is important to the Marvin community and there is support for this project. So we would ask for your consideration of a resolution that we drafted. We understand that may take some time and discussion amongst you guys. We understand that, but we would ask for your consideration of that and supporting and passing that resolution that we could use as a way to demonstrate to the school board that there is local support for this project.
What was the reason of the denial in '23? I mean, what's the reason that they gave you guys?
Well, the main reason they gave us was they said it wouldn't be fair that if we got a new weight room in Monroe or someone didn't.
Did you respond with life's not fair?
Well,
Because, I mean-
my argument to that is this. Actually, if you want to look at it from a equality standpoint, a fairness standpoint, the only fair thing to do would be allow us to expand ours. For this reason, the schools maybe on the other side of the county have a third of the number of student athletes that we do. So their current facility addresses the need for that school. We have triple the number of student athletes that those schools have, but we are forced to use the same facilities they do. If you want to look at it from a purely equality standpoint, the only fair thing to do would be allow us to expand ours to meet the needs of our students because their students are already being met. In addition to that, the fairness thing should be thrown out of the question. Thrown out. Marvin is one of the only schools in the county, there's only 2 that don't have a field house. The county's built everyone else a field house, so if it's raining, whatever, at halftime of football games, our players just sit out in the rain where every other school has one. Monroe, the schools on the other part of the county, the school board has used tax dollars to build them turf fields where, we don't have turf fields. So some schools have turf fields built by the county and a field house. We don't have either. There's other projects like, the school board paid for some of the other schools to redo their gym floors. We had to pay for that out of our private funds. The school board has paid for other schools to have light on their baseball facilities. We had to pay for that out of our own private funds. So there's this thought process, well, it's Marvin, they can afford to do it, which I don't think is fair because we attribute so much to the tax base. But even if that is your stance and you think we can afford to do it, okay, then let us do it.
Okay,
Didn't know where to
that's,
start
yeah, me
here.
neither. So is there space at the high school for you guys to expand?
There is. I mean, It would cost a lot of money if we build onto the school and took away parking, but it would cost a ton of money.
Don't take away parking, that's a
yeah.
whole nother,
Right, the best thing for us to do, we have 3 practice facilities,
Yeah.
and we've had folks come out and draw it out and map it out. We could just use one of the corners of one of the existing practice facilities, and we can make do. I mean, it's not ideal because we need this outdoor space, but we would just take up a small corner of that space, and we could then utilize existing parking.
so you would build an additional
That's right.
facility. No, go ahead.
How much money are you looking for to do this, what you have plans for?
I mean, we would need to raise probably about $1.5 million to do it the right way.
I'm assuming that you guys have gone to your parents and asked them to write some letters, get some
Man,
additional
we're in
letters
that
of
process
support.
right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
What's crazy is it's not just the weight training, and I know that's your issue. I'll give you another one just for council. I'm very involved in the band. The band practices on the parking lot on a slope. They're laying down in there because a lot of times they're on the hot pavement in the summer. They're not on a field because they don't have a field for them. I don't understand the fact that they allowed that school to grow like it did, but didn't accommodate the facilities for that amount of people. That makes no sense to me, the fact that they would turn that down, especially when it's not a tax dollar issue. You're privately saying, hey, we have the ability to do this. I mean, if I use that argument, Marvin has a Mandarin, full immersion Mandarin program. Not all schools do. Is that fair? I mean, that's on an education part. This is on a facility part, which I think you're asking is for us to say, get behind you, because what I can do too is get you in front of possibly WUMA, which is Western Union County Municipal Alliance, where they would sign a similar resolution and get multiple communities to say, you have to allow us to do this. If you're gonna provide schools that don't have the ability to accommodate these kids, then you have to allow them to expand, especially if they're not asking for tax dollars. That doesn't.
Yeah, there's so much, after, the world we live in today, there's so much research that just shows you that, with the right stretching, the right strength and conditioning program, there's a lot of injury prevention for these young people that are involved in sports. And again, I would go back to the fairness issue. We have more student athletes than any school in the county, triple, quadruple some, but we're using the same size facility as everyone. So really, I think from a fairness issue, it's only fair for us to have a little bit larger space. And again, we're not asking for any tax dollars or any county money. We'll fund it ourselves.
okay, so your ask is just our support.
That's right. Just your vocal support.
This is insane that you guys even have to come and do, yes, you have my support. I can't imagine anybody on this council is gonna say, no, you don't have our support. I think we will happily sign this resolution. I think having kids participating in athletics is a wonderful thing, and I think you guys going out, raising the fund yourself is very admirable, and I can't imagine that anybody on council is gonna not agree to that.
Thank you.
So,
We appreciate it.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the resolution in support of the Marvin Ridge Mavericks Athletic Booster Club's funding proposal to construct a strength and conditioning facility at Marvin Ridge High School as presented. And if there is other things that you need help with, minus money, because we can't do that, but if there's other things that we can help you with, please let us know, because the fact that you guys are having to go and do this, again, just boggles my mind.
Well,
So,
we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So we have a motion on the table, but do we have any other questions for Gardner? I think we've talked, and you know my feelings on this, and I'm so happy that you were able to take the time. Apologize for the mix-up on the order that I had mentioned.
Oh, no, this is great.
But I'm in agreement with Kim, and I appreciate you guys unfortunately having to take the time out of your day and our time to do this, because you're not asking for anything other than support. And the fact that they denied it tells me one thing: we have no representation at the county level for Western Union County. And that's, it hasn't been since, I think, Lanny was on that commission. So, motion's on the table, further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. You will have that. And what I'll do for you is that when we meet at WUMA, which we meet monthly with them, it's a multiple municipalities. They need to know what this, and I'm sure they would support that, that type of motion or something for that. If there's something we can add to that where the county starts listening, that's where we have power in the communities that surround us right now. Waxhaw, Weddington, those sort of schools.
Waxhaw, Weddington, Wesley Chapel,
Stallings,
Stallings.
Mineral Springs.
Mineral Springs.
And I'm
Yeah.
assuming that you went to those other schools and they're going to their municipalities. Weddington's gonna go to Weddington,
Yes.
I'm assuming. Cuthbertson, maybe going to Waxhaw, hopefully.
Yes, we've discussed it. I mean, I know Weddington is they've already started those discussions.
good.
So, yes, yeah.
Are they overcrowded as well there?
I think, yeah, absolutely.
Are they looking to do any projects similar?
They are. I mean, we're a little bit, there's Marvin, for whatever reason, has been, in my opinion, ignored. Like, for instance, Weddington has a field house, we don't have a field house. I mean, there's different things that other schools have that we just still don't have, but they are going to ask about the strength facility.
I mean, have you asked about the field house? Why you guys don't have one?
It's just, they just
If they're
say,
gonna throw out that it's not fair, I mean, I would.
the last
I'd go right
conversation I
back
had
out.
with,
Turf field's another issue. I mean, I go to so many schools that are way out, and it doesn't look like they're well populated, but we play them and also in band, but they're on turf fields.
right, I mean, so you question the fact that how do some schools get a field house and a turf field and we don't have either one? I mean, but the field house, I think, is more of a priority for us than the turf fields. And we spend a lot of resources among the Booster Club, most of our resources in field maintenance and taking care of the fields. We pride ourselves in that. But the field house would be and our local representative from the legislature here over in Firethorn, we met with him, he's really upset about it, and he's trying to help us get that over the finish line as well.
All right,
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
And Gardner, I'll get you a copy of the resolution once it's signed.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you all.
And we are going to take a quick bio break and be back in 5 minutes. All right. All right.
Sorry.
That's okay. We are back from our break. Again, we'll open up, we're starting with staff presentations. First one on tree regulations and initiatives. Who's
Right.
got that?
It'll be the planning department
All right.
as a whole. Yeah, as Polomine gets the presentation presented, we wanted to just share with you guys, we shared this with planning board at their meeting last week, and just want to make sure that council kind of has an understanding of what we currently are doing regarding our tree ordinance. We have two different ordinances per se. You got Chapter 93 in the Code of Ordinances, which is our tree ordinance, and then you have Article 11 in the MDO. Article 11 is mainly focused on anything regarding development. It could be anywhere from a subdivision development to you putting a pool in your backyard and you got to remove some trees to do it type thing. So, whereas Chapter 93 does kind of get into a little bit of development, but the short end is I've been working with Keith on this, and we're trying to basically, one, get our Tree City USA accreditation. So we're currently working on a few minor amendments to strengthen our public tree ordinance, because the Tree City USA accreditation is focused on public trees, public maintenance, and planting of trees on public property. When it comes to regulations on private property, it's kind of a gray area, meaning like if you own a property and you want to cut down trees just because you don't like them, yes, we have a tree removal permit process. Keith and I meet with them, but the actual authority to enforce that is gray. And the short end is that our understanding is you're supposed to have basically special legislation from the state by a local bill given to the municipality to regulate that authority. That has not been given to a municipality since 2006. However, anytime a property owner, so most of the time, what the village does is somebody contacts the village, hey, want to remove some trees. Keith and I meet out there with them, try to get an understanding why. 99% of the time, it's because they have future plans to do a pool, an addition, something that once again triggers that development churn. And so that's when we try to have them wait on that tree removal process until they're ready to actually do that work, and we tie it all to the zoning permit and the scope there. With all that being said, we've looked into, hey, what can we do from the village's standpoint? What are some other initiatives that we can, through partnerships with habitat builders or HOAs? And so I'm gonna let Polomine kind of take it from here, and I'll kind of chime in, but she's gonna go through this PowerPoint and be happy to answer any questions anytime, so.
Hello, council and residents. Who here likes trees? Let the record show that everyone raised their hand. Okay, now let's go through the different parts of the tree. So first we have the root. What does the root mean to us? These are kind of our grounding moments. It's what legislation we have in place for tree protection and preservation. As Hunter mentioned, we have Chapter 93 on trees and Article 11 newly adopted last year on landscape requirements and tree protection, which works more on the development side of trees. Next, we have the trunk, our strong foundation. What are we looking to grow towards? We want to increase tree preservation and overall canopy in our area. This will help for the cooling down as we increase our development and for the beautification of Marvin itself. And then we have the branches. What outreach programs can we consider, and what programs do we have that we can enhance and improve on? The Village of Marvin has a partnership with Habitat Builders, which is the Western Union County division of the North Carolina Wildlife Federation. They work a lot in both of our parks, trails, and greenways, and they have a couple different programs that they do. Most notably, they have done an Arbor Day tree planting with the North Carolina State University, and also with our urban forester, Keith O'Haron. They have an invasive plant removal series, a mini tree farm. They recently did a tree walk in the park in September and are hoping to do more. And they have a great program called Habitat Heroes, which is both informational and educational to the public, while also teaching about the importance of protecting our habitat.
And I'll also add in here is that Habitat Builders was a huge help with our Arbor Day event that occurred on Saturday. I thought we had a great turnout. Thank you for everybody that attended. Just want to make sure that threw that plug in there. But they're a huge help there, as well as their partnership with Trees Union was also something that we're going to continue to work with and build on to strengthen and plant more trees.
Now I want to go take a step back and look at more at what North Carolina is doing to protect its trees. The North Carolina Urban Forest Council has a couple different programs, many more than what I have listed here, but here are some different avenues that they take. For example, their urban site considerations, they have a tree owner's manual which helps during development and planting techniques. They have many resources available. They also have the Green Infrastructure Alliance, which is a great way to connect with both companies and academia to help understand tree preservation more. They have a Legacy Tree Fund, which was established in 2010, that has some grants available for both community groups, civic associations, and even smaller garden clubs and nonprofit organizations. One of my favorite groups that I looked at was the Urban North Carolina Wood Group. They deal with all the timber that happens after development, and they take them and turn them into high-quality wood products. And then, of course, for more education there and connectivity, there are tree board webinars where we can connect with other professionals to learn more about trees and how to engage our volunteers and our community. And then we have the North Carolina Forest Service. They have a nursery and tree improvement program where they actually help with planting, growing, selling, and distributing the annual seedling crop. It receives no tax revenue through state appropriations and is a part of the overall tree improvement program. They also have the Urban and Community Forestry, which provides technical and financial assistance to municipalities and community organizations to help us achieve our mutual goal and make North Carolina a beautiful place to live, work, and play. And then a little closer to home, our neighbor Charlotte has this great initiative by Tree Charlotte that they call Treecillions. Their mission is they have a statement where they have a 47% tree canopy over Charlotte, as it is a growing city. With some of the lower median income neighborhoods, they have this program where they can help increase the tree canopy, and this helps not only get the community connected, but also helps educate them on tree preservation.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Real quick, I want to add on, looking at some of these other initiatives some other municipalities are doing is like what we're then trying to find ways to build on. One of the examples is, I know, like Christine and I, we brought this up, I think, in a previous meeting about like a neighborhood partnership type program that we would want to try to implement in the future. This would be kind of a branch, no pun intended, to that of, working with some of these HOAs to take opportunity to plant trees in their common open space, uses it as an educational, similar to how we did the tree planting on Saturday. We're partnering with Trees Union and Habitat Builder to show them the benefits of trees, show them how to plant them, maintain them, take care of them, but also get more trees planted that on property that's not owned or maintained by the village. If that's HOA common open space or individual private property within subdivisions, it's finding ways to bridge those gaps and get more trees planted overall.
And so something that we have been working through recently as staff is acquiring our Tree City USA accreditation. These are some of their mission statements that they have on their website. It is a great opportunity for us to not only connect back with our land, but also with our community and get everyone involved for a similar goal. They have 4 standards that you have to meet in order to become Tree City USA accredited, which, by the way, is a part of the National Arbor Day Foundation. We have completed now all 4. Hunter, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so, and you guys have heard about these 4 standards. We have now had our Arbor Day celebration, so we have kind of checked all 4 boxes. I did reach out to our local coordinator to go ahead and start preparing, like kind of making sure that we're good, like I'm not missing anything, and kind of make sure we provide the right documentation part of the application process. They reviewed our Article 11 and Chapter 93 and did provide some recommendations to strengthen our public tree ordinance. basically said that it meets that and currently meets the intent of standard number 2 and 1, but to kind of more specific, these amendments would specifically define it to make sure it meets those. So what we're currently working on and what will be brought to you guys at the December meeting is basically I'm doing a complete rewrite of Chapter 93 and making that our public tree ordinance and taking some of those regulations from Chapter 93 regarding like tree mitigation and other aspects on the development side and moving it to Article 11. So then I'm going to kind of basically keep it in, once again, Article 11 specifically regarding development and Chapter 93 on public tree. So goal is we kind of went high level with planning board on last month. We'll bring those final changes to them next month, and then it will be on your guys' December meeting for consideration. Once it's adopted, then we'll submit the application and hopefully be awarded and be named a Tree City USA community.
Questions?
We've got a few more slides.
I know we're going through these things to kind of further our engagement in these programs and things like that, but, you know, I was fortunate, one of my very first opportunities to serve as a volunteer of the Village of Marvin was back in the early 2000s when, in 2005, I was part of a committee that developed our first tree ordinance, you know, and at the time, it was designed really only to apply to the subdivisions, and I know it's changed considerably since, but, you know, as myself and the committee that put that together, it was kind of rare. We had to search kind of far and wide across the state to find towns of our size, you know, that were even engaging in that back in 2005. But now, 20 years later, I just want, you know, residents to know this is something that we've been doing for most of the existence of Marvin. And while it has changed a little bit over the years, I think it was in a meeting that we had just recently where some of Keith and other folks that work in this area consider us to have one of the best tree mitigation and you know, tree preservation types of things in place. So it's something that we've done for a long time. I appreciate that we continue to look at it and evolve with it, and some of these things are just the next step and continuation of that.
And I think that's, you know, one other reason we wanted to, you know, present this to you guys is I think there's sometimes misunderstanding from either, I mean, all parties, if it's planning board, council, or even residents, sometimes on specifically what does our tree ordinance say? Because you'll have some people that sometimes think that it means that if a lot's fully wooded, you basically can't develop it because it's like we don't want to cut down trees. And the short end is like no, you can. There's just mitigation. You have to preserve X amount of trees depending on the. I mean, so there's still ways there that we preserve trees. We also require plantings in subdivisions. Broadmoor is a prime example. Broadmoor and the estates at Marvin Branch are two like recent examples that were old farm tracts that did not have a lot of trees, and now there are numerous more trees on that. So those are ways that we're enhancing the canopy over time because you're taking property that now is developed that didn't have those trees and adding them. And same thing, when trees get cut down for new developments, they're mitigating. They get a tree survey of all trees that are being cut down that are over 12 inches in diameter, and which is what our ordinance defines as canopy tree, and basically they have to mitigate that. So those are ways, yes, that I think our tree ordinance is very strong in that nature. And it's going to be something that really helps the village long-term as these trees grow and mature. And most of them are also protected because they're within common open space or tree preservation areas and stuff of those subdivisions.
I will say though, and this is something when we developed our very first tree ordinance, and this has changed a little bit, but basically if you were a private homeowner of a smaller lot, you were basically exempted from it. And we did start with a very strong focus on personal private property rights. And to a degree, you know, we absolutely do still respect that, it sounds, and that's why when you talk about the gray areas of how we enforce it, you know, it sounds like the state, you know, is kind of more in line with that. So, you know, our intent is not really to punish or make it hard for private property owners. We do want to respect that, but we're still trying to, you know, overall as a village, continue to increase the number of trees and stuff like that in positive ways.
Yeah,
working
and that-
with our residents.
For sure, and on those properties, like anytime, you know, there's been a few recent, especially since the hurricane last year, there's some of those larger properties that are wooded, scared people because trees went down, and so I think after the hurricane last year, I got about 5 to 10 different inquiries of larger tracts that wanted to remove some trees because they didn't want it to fall in their house, all that stuff, and you know, that was, once again, that gray area, but Keith and I met with every single one of those property owners and tried to say, hey, like, what can we preserve? Like, you're saying you want to clear cut your whole lot for the most part, but what, you know, what's the benefit? Like, what are you trying to achieve? And even though they still cut down some trees, we were able to still preserve and work with them to, one, build a mitigation plan, but two, also like find the quality of trees that are on the site that maybe aren't a threat to the structure, that are well rooted and all that stuff, and have the property owner preserve those. And then, so those conversations and educating the residents, I mean, those are our opportunities to do that. And I think it works. It's not perfect, but it's definitely another way that we try to make the best of both worlds, you know, still respect the private property rights, but at the same time preserve some nice canopy trees on their property.
So Hunter, how do you delineate or separate private property owners versus like a commercial or maybe an HOA that has, you know, stuff? A perfect example was a few years ago, Firethorn decided to just get rid of a ton of trees.
On the golf course?
Yeah, and I walked up and asked which ones are, and they wouldn't answer me and stuff, but I don't know if it's just, what's the difference there? Or is there one?
There's not. I mean, it's still the property owner. So in that case, the golf course, trying to better or make use of their property that to the best that how they see fit. Because and same thing, we met with Firethorn when they removed some of those trees. I know they planted some towards the end of the range. Once again, it's not always an apple for apple type thing. We wish it could be, but you know, they were doing that to improve the quality of their golf course. So
Scores are better.
yeah, not hitting as many trees.
Quick point, if we could let Ptolemy finish the presentation, we can do questions at the end. I just don't want her to get off track.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Got 2 more.
I promise I'll be really fast. Okay, so Hunter already kind of mentioned this a little earlier, but some of the outreach programs that we have currently that we can definitely enhance upon. Something that's coming in December, so keep a lookout, is our Marvin's Mayor's Monarch Pledge. I know that's a mouthful, but we also have a newly minted logo. And the nice thing about this is, the not nice thing is that recently there has been a huge monarch population decline. And the reason for that is not only because of climate change, but also because of overdevelopment. And one of the biggest things about monarch butterflies is that they only lay their eggs on one type of plant, and that is the milkweed plant that you can see pictured there. The caterpillars eat off of that plant, and because of that decline, there has been a lot less of them flying down to Mexico. I think they actually just finished their flight path, so if you saw any, that's pretty cool. But we have been working with Habitat Builders, mainly with Christina Culp and Bob Nunnenkamp, on coming up with a strategy for both in our parks and even in our HOA common space for making more pollinator gardens for our little friends. Because what is a forest without the flora and the fauna? And even branching off of that, this could be something that we also do with trees. Urban forester Keith O'Haron has started a program with Habitat Builders called Trees Union, which is essentially the Union County version of Trees Charlotte. They're using this to bridge the gap in knowledge and resources around tree care and maintenance. And this is not just something that we could do at the village level, this is also something that we can do within HOAs and individually. For example, did you know that when you plant a tree, it is best to leave some of the roots sticking out with what Keith calls the tree toes? And because a lot of people tend to volcano the tree up with its mulch, that's actually preventing the light from the leaves to come down into the roots and essentially suffocating the tree and not letting it live its best and happy life. And these are small things that we could all benefit from learning. Most recently, Keith, Christina Kolb, and Bob Nunnenkamp have gotten together and had a meeting with some HOA members and board members, and they have discussed creating a system of planting in their HOA common spaces and even by their mailboxes that can not only beautify Marvin, but also bring back a little bit of that natural feel to it.
And, you know, the HOAs are another key into some of this. I've had a lot of conversations with, you know, different HOA presidents or boards regarding, you know, what's in their CCNRs when it comes to trees. For example, Tollamore's, I'm pretty sure, says that you must have 2 canopy trees in your front yard and 2 in your rear yard, or some type of language like that. So where currently our ordinance states, like, if it's dead, you can remove it and you don't necessarily have to mitigate it. And once again, it's getting into private property rights, but like Tullamore said, they had a property owner that had a dead tree and they had to replant it. And those are kind of extra steps that, you know, if these these HOAs could enforce, or, you know, potentially amend their CCNRs to kind of work on that private property aspect of it, to still where, you know, they're then kind of individually regulating how they want their neighborhood to feel regarding, you know, the tree canopy coverage and everything, as well as the type of species that can and can't be planted. I've talked with the courtyards on that and trying to basically get some uniformity there. But it still comes down to them amending their CCNRs as well.
And I'd like to remind everyone that you do not need a permit to plant a tree. You can plant 10 trees, you can plant 100 trees, and it might not be a really big tree, but if you don't plant it, it'll never be a tree at all. And I'd like to leave you with this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson: "The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn." Thank you guys so much.
All right.
Nice job. Thank you.
Now, and so is there any other questions? Are you good?
Sit down.
All right.
I mean, does anybody have any questions? I mean, that was great. That was very good, really good. And Arbor Day was amazing. You guys did an amazing job. I had a good time. I actually learned some stuff. I don't have green thumbs, but it was fun. So.
Yeah, and I think they're looking to do something also in the spring as well, so.
Like another plant exchange?
I was able to bring some plants home
Me
myself.
too. I
yeah,
got
so-
some plants
but,
hoisted on me.
Yeah, it was a nice event for the community.
Yes,
so
it
thank
was.
you.
Special thanks to Habitat Builders and Trees Union for coming, and be sure to check out Habitat Builders and their website. They have some great initiatives going on, and they always have programs that they're doing. Thanks, guys.
All right. Manager's report. Yep, next up, manager's report.
I actually think I itemized everything out, so I don't think I have anything.
Nothing?
No.
All right, next up, we have clerk and communication.
All right, 2 things. First, you've got your monthly communications. I've got both November and December in your packets. We're keeping the community survey promos going, Friendship Tree, Toys for Tots, car show, Council with Kids is coming up, tree lighting, the fall-winter trail scavenger hunt, Election Day or end of early voting, teacher work days, holidays, meetings. We're going into the end of the year, so.
Remember that our next meeting is on a Monday and not a Tuesday because it's
Monday,
Veterans
November
Day.
10th.
Yeah.
Because of Veterans Day. Take a look through each month there, both November and December. Let us know if anything's missing. We don't have holiday tree collection on here. We'll start that mid-December, but we do have a note of it, and we've already prepared a graphic. So yeah, we're working on end-of-year communications now. And yeah, so just please let me know if you see anything you want to add, if there's anything missing.
Looks good.
No
All right,
questions?
so the second thing is the community survey update. So as of Monday, and I will read you the email that I got from Central Lina. As of Monday, there were 368 responses to the community survey. We have crossed the threshold for a statistically significant result, so yay. At the time, we were only 12 responses away from the 2019 response rate. Considering that we'll be open for another month, I definitely think we're going to surpass that. Just the last 2 days, I've emailed for each HOA that I have a contact for that had less than 20 responses. They got an email from me asking them to please share reminders with their neighborhoods because we don't want any neighborhood to be underrepresented.
Have you gotten any responses from
Most neighborhoods that I responded that I emailed have responded, and yes, Innisbrook was one of them.
They haven't sent out anything to the neighborhood yet, so I'm
Well, they're going to today.
Okay.
Most neighborhoods that have responded saying they're going to get more information out. They're glad to help us. They definitely want this to be a success. So we have a lot of buy-in. We emailed some additional residents so that we know live in some neighborhoods. And yeah, there's a couple neighborhoods I don't have contacts for. Wayne gave me a couple of contacts this morning, so I'll be reaching out to the developer of Broadmoor and the Heritage and the Estates at Marvin Branch. But I don't have contacts for Providence Ridge, the Gates at Marvin, Woodland Forest, or Windmore, or Marvin Villas. So if you guys know anyone in those neighborhoods, let me know, or if Hunter can let me know.
Hunter can probably give you somebody at Windmore.
And I also need one for, I also would like another one for Beechwood if anyone has them. I only know one person there, and I don't know if they still even live there. So, but we're doing good.
Hold on, let's run through that list again. So if there's anybody listening, if you can contact Austin, if you have a contact, it doesn't have to be on the HOA board, just somebody in one of these neighborhoods that you may know, and that list of neighborhoods again is?
Again, if you live in the neighborhood, have a friend that lives in the neighborhood, or if you're a part of the HOA, would definitely like your information. Broadmoor, the Estates at Marvin Branch. I think Broadmoor's still under construction, so they probably don't have an HOA yet. But the Heritage at Marvin, Providence Ridge, the Gates at Marvin, that's a really small subdivision. Woodland Forest, Windmore, Beechwood, and Marvin Villas. And please, guys, as you're out and about talking to residents, please encourage them to do the survey and help spread the word. Because there are people that don't live in subdivisions, so those groups of people we don't have additional ways to contact them. So.
Good job, thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
Survey will be open for another month. Closes right after Thanksgiving.
All right, next up, planners report.
The only thing is, I just want to update you guys on the comp plan. So Kimley Horn has begun kind of their initial data collection and all that. And we're in the process, I'm going to probably by the end of the day, today or tomorrow, get them basically all the requested information. We are going to have a working group on that, and I've reached out to the council representative, planning board representative, and PRG representative, and we'll get that meeting kind of scheduled, but they'll kind of be kind of providing input, kind of the representative from all three of those boards. Yeah, any questions on that? Any questions on anything? Okay, good.
Thank you, Hunter. Who's got Public Works?
Since she left the room, you could go ahead and go to.
We're gonna skip over that.
Oh, she's back.
Come-
She's back.
Oh, she's back.
Good morning. So just wanted to report a couple of things. We had the bulk event last weekend. It was very successful. We had 77 cars. I don't know the exact tonnage, but it was a lot of people showed up. Marvin Eford Park emergency update. Put the information in your agenda packet. You all had asked about the previous use for the driveway. Did a bunch of research. What I think has happened with the current, well, not the current, the driveway that was there several years ago, I think it was probably an easement access and not an official declared permitted driveway. We can't find any records. DOT can't find any records. We went back and looked at GIS images, and it's just like a little farm gate. So I think that's probably what it was an easement access area. I don't think it was a permitted driveway. That being said, everything still stands, what I said in previous meetings. I can't remember exactly how much we budgeted. I think it was $25,000 to $30,000. We will have to do the survey, and it's for site distance purposes. That was one of the questions you all had. So the engineering estimates came in from a couple of different vendors, from anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. Construction was estimated anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000, so we're roughly $30,000 to $40,000 into this project. I think we budgeted 25, I could be wrong on that, but either way, we're gonna be over budget. So that being said, I will be more than glad to pull the trigger on the lowest responsive engineering proposal, but I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of the potential increase that I would have to come back with a budget amendment for. And we won't know actual construction estimates until we do bids, so it could be more, it could be less.
Just for everyone's information, we had issues again for trick or treat at the park. We didn't have enough entrances and exits, so this is needed.
Well, this isn't gonna be a normal entrance or exit, this is emergency only.
Well, that's what we needed, because we had people backed up the roads and people
But
wanted
they're
to.
not gonna open that up.
I think we did speak about having it
Yeah.
open for limited times during larger events.
During, yeah, peak.
So then we've got, it's just going to attach to the upper parking lot?
Correct.
Yes. So it would be, in case one entrance is blocked, it can be used for emergency, but it's also another way to get people in and out during peak times.
All right, I think, in my opinion, this is entirely too expensive for this. That's my opinion. So I don't think we have the money to do it right now, but if everybody else wants to do it, then I can,
Well,
Get on board for
For
it,
safety
but-
reasons, I don't think we really have much choice. I
Well-
mean, if you
we have
are
one,
having a
we have
medical
one event a
issue-
year that we're running into this issue.
Well, I don't think we're doing it because of having better access for events. I think we're doing it because if we do have an emergency at the single entrance, that's why we need the emergency entrance. I think the other piece of it is, just,
Bonus.
the added benefit. It's a side benefit of addressing the emergency issue.
So one happy medium that we could do between balancing, the budget and kind of both sides of this is we could go ahead and do the engineering study now. It doesn't mean we have to pull the trigger on the construction. We could do the engineering, get the bids back on the construction. It could be less, which could, counteract some of the engineering costs. I wouldn't bank on that, but it could be. You could at least have the engineering done so we could split it into this year and next year's construction, which is exactly what I've done in the CIP request that you'll see in a couple of months from now. I've split it up into this year and next year. So if we don't get it done in this year with the money that we have, we can talk about some additional funding in next year's budget.
And let me just remind everybody too, that this wasn't our idea. This was suggested to us by emergency services that we do this for safety concerns. This was something that was brought to us by the sheriff's department, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
So it wasn't just because we just came up with this idea.
When we're talking about the construction of that, I'd imagine part of the engineering and having to meet state specs and stuff means, does it need to be asphalt? Does it need
No.
to be asphalt the whole way? What, is there anything driving the costs up and requirements that we can satisfy the need, but not necessarily,
You mean, is there a way to make the construction variable in terms of on the lesser end?
Yeah.
I think if you're using it for an emergency access only and not actual commuting, I think you could probably do like a gravel ABC type base. If it's going to be used for ingress and egress, you probably need to look at, asphalt for sure.
But like, does DOT, as part of that engineering, require at least a 15-foot apron that's?
Yeah, I can't answer that. I really honestly don't know the answer to that. So that's something engineering would have to
And would
put
play
in their
into the
spec, yeah.
construction costs.
I got that number from our engineer firm, AMT, so I assume whatever requirements are, they've kind of penciled that into their minds. We'll do anything you guys want, but I'm just telling you, it's going to be over likely what we budgeted. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that before I pulled the trigger on engineering. It's going to take several months for them to do it anyways. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
I guess my input would be, if we're being told by emergency services that you should consider this and we don't act on it because, and if an event, God forbid, happens, we're having an event and we needed that, or we could have used that, the liability issues may outweigh what the initial cost of it would be. So I'd like to seriously take a look on it, so.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if we get the engineering done now, which we have the money for, and if we need to push this to next year's budget to kind of split it up and make it more palatable, I would be fine with that direction. But I do feel like that, we do have a responsibility to the public. Emergency Services suggested this. They feel like it's something that's needed, so, and I can certainly see the logic in it. From my standpoint, I would at least start with the engineering.
I agree.
Is there a consensus on that? I know,
We have
I know
three
there's one.
votes right now.
Okay, so what, 1, 2, 3.
Check with Jamie, maybe. Any thoughts, Jamie?
No, I think it should just be completely separated out. Let's look at it from a emergency services standpoint, and only as that. And I think it needs to be because they're the ones that brought it up. And we would certainly hate to have an event that something did happen and we didn't have that available for it. So, and then if you want to compartmentalize it, if you're looking for more parking or a different access point or how, to be able to have more activity there, then that should be just in a separate bucket in and of itself. But I think, I do believe we need it. And I think we should move forward with it and get it taken care of. Again, to Andy's point, you want to split it up between this and this year's budget, next year's budget, and do something like that, I think is something we should look at and take, consideration in. But that's just my thought of it. I think really think we need it.
Okay. So the engineering estimates that I've got, I think I've got 2 so far, and I've actually requested a third firm. One of them did not include surveying, so I'm kind of knowing that surveying is needed. I need to factor that into the total cost. So what I'll do is I'll work on the back end and get the most responsive proposer that I think is fit for the job, and I'll put the contract on the next meeting so that you guys can officially approve it then. Any other questions on that before I move on? Okay. Let's see, the next thing is Carolina Hill Splitter Survey. So as you all know, we're undergoing the STRAP grant that was originally proposed for Marvin Branch right here behind Village Hall. That branch was subsequently moved due to some issues that we saw with that particular location, primarily with access permission on properties that would be needed for surveying purposes to conduct mussel surveys. So we in turn moved to the 6 Mile Tributary. There's a section inside of your agenda packets on page 83, I believe it is, that shows you the scope of the survey, which is essentially connecting to 6 Mile Creek and about 700 meters down, close to the intersection of past Wheatfield Drive. So our mussel surveyor went essentially from 6 Mile Creek all the way to a little past Wheatfield Drive and studied that entire area and found 0 Carolina Hill splitters in that segment. Just as a reminder, if anyone was interested and concerned, back in the previous iterations of the STRAP grant, when we were looking at Marvin Branch, there was some discussion about hill splitters being in that area. Hunter and I both contacted the Heritage Program with the NC Department of Cultural Resources, I believe is the entity over that, and they had no documented occurrences of the hill splitter in that either. So just so everyone's aware. The other creek that's up from that is McBride Branch, which is in the Amber Meadows, Tullamore area. That area was not studied. So the only area studied in this one was from the 6 Mile Creek down to roughly Wheatfield Drive. Just wanted to make sure you guys were aware. Any questions? And I think that's all I have, yeah. Oh, no, one more. Councilman Barisic, did you want to talk about the Marvin Eford Park kind of buffering plants?
Well, just, I had previously been working with Davy. When we took out a lot of the bamboo back behind the bathroom in there, it removed a lot of cover from one of our relatively close neighbors in the back there, where you can see things on both sides. There's also barbed wire back there. So we'd had some discussions about just putting a couple of maybe evergreen trees or something like that, just on our property, not on somebody's private property, just to provide a little bit more screening. There are a couple of complications about the area in terms of how much sunlight it gets and things like that. And also there is some electric line that goes to feed our bathroom, so we just have to look at that a little bit more closely. But I engaged with Christina Culp on our PRG board, who's, you know, really somebody that we rely on making sure if we do put something in a specific area that it's not going to die because it doesn't get enough sunlight or things like that. So it's just a relatively small project to kind of help amend something that we created when we removed a lot of that bamboo. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Next up, we have Parks and Rec report. Hey, a new face.
Hi. So that's me now for part of it. Okay, so let's talk about trick or treats in the park. It was amazing. We had an incredible turnout. Myself, Christina, and Matt met and had a little debrief on Monday. We believe we parked at least 450 cars that night. So if you consider probably an average of 4 people per car, we rocked it. Probably about 2,000 people at least were there. So the vendors all seemed happy. I am working on a little survey to them just to kind of get their feedback and see, you know, if they have any improvements to recommend to us. We did have, you know, parking is always going to be an issue at the park, but it really wasn't that bad. A couple of times we did have to kind of temporarily shut down just to let cars come out and free up spaces. We just kind of told people to circle and come back. We've discussed next year sort of setting that expectation up front, maybe in some of our communications on social, just kind of letting people know this is a very busy event, a very popular event, and if you arrive and there's no parking, just come back in about 10, 15 minutes and we should be able to accommodate you. So huge shout out to the Public Works staff. They were amazing. It takes a lot of patience to kind of deal with the parking during a crazy event like that, and they did a great job. Definitely looking forward to next year. And then the next event that we have is Friendship Tree is kicking off in early November. The Union County Christmas Bureau has let us know that they are experiencing delays. They actually have less applicants for the program this year, which is not normal. They believe that there might just be some delays there. Their application window is open actually till mid-November, so we have been told to expect our list of names and kids to not come to us until mid-November. They are looking to change that next year, but it does make it challenging for us. So all that to say, today we have a post on our social media that encourages people to use a form that we have created where local families can pre-register to sort of claim a number of children that they would like to just pre-commit that they're going to help meet their Christmas or holiday wish list needs. We already have 9 children spoken for. We have committed to 40. I believe all of you also received that link and some information. So if you want to share it with your neighbors, your HOA, we would love to just spread the word to Marvin families and hope that we get the generosity that we've seen in the last 4 years of the program. We want to make sure all these kids get taken care of. But it will be a tight turnaround because gifts are due back to Village Hall by December 5th. So that's why we're trying to help out and sort of do some of this electronically. And then we also have the car show, which will be happening on Saturday, November 15th from 8 to 11 a.m. at Marvin Eford Park through First Class Cars. I have been in contact with them, so has our Public Works team, bless you. and so has Christina. So just making sure that they're all set, everybody is excited and ready for a great event. For those that don't know about it, we had one earlier in the year. It was a great turnout. I think it was maybe even on Father's Day. Really great turnout, lots of cool cars. So come on out November 15th to the park, see the cars, and have a wonderful morning. And I think that's... Yeah, tree lighting will be December 6th. I was going to save that for next month, but December 6th, and we're still in the planning stages of that, but maybe making a few tweaks to it and a couple changes just to change it up a little bit, but it should be a great event like years past.
So who is handling the coordination with the band and chorus and band, all that?
Got the choir.
Well, we've gotten the choir. We were waiting on you to respond about the band.
Okay, well, I just got a text, and then another one this morning. I said I'd have an answer for them, but they were clarifying, the choir was wanting to clarify and not get dates and times, and apparently they don't have that yet. So I have a contact for you.
John sent it to them. I sent it to John. John sent it to them. So the choir should have the date, and we told them to be there at 5:30. So that was all communicated to them. If they need us to send it again, we can. It's really just the band that we have yet to hear a committal from and secure for the event.
Yeah, so this person just, out of the blue, they said, hey, schedule your traveling carolers for December 6th. And she's asking, please send me your email so I can send you the flyer and get all the info. So apparently they need something, but I'll give you her contact info.
Perfect. Just CC John on it if you don't mind, if you're going to email me, because we're working on that together.
Okay.
Anyway, hope you all save the date. It's in your calendars. Hope you can make it. It should be a wonderful night. We'll have free hot chocolate and cookies for the community, and a Santa letter writing station, some snow, which always gets the kids excited. We'll have a DJ this year and lots of fun stuff. So hope. Yes, and Toys for Tots. So we will have the boxes set up in our lobby, probably starting next week and running all through the month of November. So if you have toys to donate, please help us fill up those bins. The last day for us to take Toys for Tots donations will be at the tree lighting on December 6th. But you can stop by anytime and drop them off and help us fill up these bins in our lobbies as well.
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
All right, thank you.
Next up for Parks and Rec, I was asked to put this on here, new trail signs, both featuring directional information and our prohibition on motor vehicles on trails. There is a depiction of the sign a sign and a quote in your packets. The signs are actually pretty cheap. They're only $35 each. We would start with probably the Preserve Trail, do Tullamore, Amber Meadows.
Does that include the post or just the
It
actual
does not
sign?
include the post. We still have to get that. Well, we would like to mount them on wood, but I still need to get with Public Works and determine the cost for that. But the signs themselves, if we'd had 25, which I think is probably a few more than we even need, that's like $870, so it's not bad for the entire village. But if you like the design, we will go ahead and make the depictions of all the signs and go ahead and move forward with that order after we determine the cost of the post, of course. And we're asking PRG for their feedback too. But these would be at trailheads and at forks on trails.
Yeah, posts are going to be less than $10 a piece for 4x4.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be an
It's
issue.
nominal. So it's more about time and effort on Public Works, to get them out there and get set up. So.
Any feedback on the signs? We have met with a few of the members of the PRG board. John has already seen these. We have a QR code that links to our Trails and Greenways page for more information.
Yeah, I had a meeting with Christina Traub regarding this. She's our chair of the PRG. So it hasn't formally been before PRG, but we didn't see anything,
We're going to take it to PRG for courtesy next week to look at too. But
essentially what Austin is asking, if y'all don't see any objections, we'll come back with a budget amendment, because this is not a budgeted item, but it should be less than $1,500, hopefully.
I think it'll be less than that, yeah. No objections? Okay. And I think the last one is you, Christina?
Yep. So a couple of things. I don't really know how this happened, but we had some crosshairs with the Village Hall landscaping. you all approved a landscaping plan at your last meeting. PRG spent a lot of time and energy and effort on putting that landscape plan together. Well, when I got to looking into the plans for the construction that's getting ready to start, I noticed that landscaping was in the contractor's plans. So I reached out to him, made sure, you know, we skimmed through all the project manual. There was all the little finite notes that are in the bidding documents. There's nothing in there that says landscaping is exempt from his project. So I'm going to hold him to do the actual landscaping because it's in his bid. Christina Culp, PRG, and the plan that you all saw kind of changes out some of the plants, you know, changing out azaleas for certain things and add some more in there. So what I'm going to do is ask the contractor of a cost difference. I'm going to provide this list to him, provide a cost difference, or either get him to issue some type of change order, but it would be a return to us. So we'll figure out which was the most beneficial. It could be a change order for them switching out whatever plants if they're more expensive, and the supplement that she wants is more detailed than what's there, but I just wanted to let you know that there's a little bit of confusion on the landscaping plan, but it's for our benefit. So hopefully, we'll clean that up, we'll bring it back to you all and let you know what we're doing. We are slightly under budget on that project, so that's probably a good thing that we can supplement some more plants. But I have been in communication with a pond company, and I sent Austin an email a couple minutes ago, I don't know if you had a chance to read it.
Sorry.
Of some pond examples of a water feature we can add to Village Hall. I'll have to get approval from Part F, I don't see any problem with that, but I think you guys will be really excited on the potential. I don't know if you can pull it up if it's going to be too much.
Give me 1 second.
Just wanted to show you a couple of examples.
I can pull it up. Hold on.
So I've talked them into donating the labor and installation. We would only have to pay for at cost for the equipment and materials. But I wanted to show you a couple of the examples. Just scroll down. Keep scrolling.
Out a little bit here. It's a bit. Okay. So this is the ecosystem pond.
Just scroll. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Right here.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So this is a couple of the features of kind of the number one option. Something like this would cost about $60,000 if you all were to hire them directly today. We have negotiated a price of around $16,000 for us. The only thing they ask in exchange is that they're allowed to keep a rock there that shows who it was donated by, which I personally don't have any problems. I don't think you all do. So I told him that we could probably make that happen. But those are just some inspirations of what we would be looking at. I mean, this one has a cool little stone bridge. I don't know from a liability standpoint we would do that, but just so you know that, I mean, this is kind of the inspiration. There's a couple more options below. If you just scroll down to, yeah, keep going. This is a lesser option, so you can see kind of the inspiration for it. I mean, it's still nice. And then the last one is one of the lower base options, which is just kind of a little baby one. So just so you know, we're working on that. We'll get some more details, figure out exactly how much we're gonna have left from the differential of the plants. But this would be a cool feature we can have. The water is sustained in the system. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not gonna drain down anybody's property. It's gonna stay in this little pond system.
And just to clarify, they were looking to give us the materials at cost.
Correct.
And kind of the labor for free.
Correct.
So I'd also point out that this particular vendor has been somebody that I recognize from being sponsors and visible in many of our different events and stuff like that. So, you know, 60,000 to 16 is quite a discount, and if there is an opportunity to move forward with that, you know, I'd be supportive of it.
I have a bazillion questions, so I will talk to you
Okay.
about this later on, because there's some things that I can see some different issues that may arise, and I just want to make sure we work through all that.
Yeah, we can, I mean, we've got time. We'll have to run electric, so that's one thing that we'll have to figure out how much that's gonna cost, but, the idea would be
And
to
you'd have to have water too, I think. 'Cause it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
not-
yeah, that shouldn't be that complicated, but we were gonna put it over here by, as you're kind of walking down the trail, the light post, like in that kind of corner over there.
Okay.
So,
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I just.
we're excited. I think it would be a cool feature. I think it would be great to have in a passive park. So Habitat Builders, at least Christina Culp is
Yeah. I mean,
excited
I think
because
it's a great idea. I just want to make sure that all of our i's are dotted and t's are crossed with my experience with these particular
Yeah,
setups,
absolutely.
as I've built these myself in the past, so.
Okay, that's all I have.
Coffee with council debrief. Thank you, Christina. Wayne, take it. We had tons of people, right?
In weight maybe, but not in bodies.
Parking issue?
Yeah, it's a parking issue again.
We had basically 0 residents showed up, stayed the full hour, shut the door and went home.
Talked to Ed for a little bit. He was out in the parking lot,
He
which
sat
was
with me for
nice.
a while.
And Christina graced us with her call, so we had 20 minutes of Christina just kind of getting some updates of what's going on. So we appreciated I was running out of things to talk to Wayne about, so. But again, it's twice a month, it's open, it's trying to be transparent. We want to hear from residents about what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we maybe should think about doing, so. Anyway, so moving on. We have, next up is the consent agenda.
I'm going
Need
to
a-
make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Unfinished business, consider the consider the withdrawal of the Village of Marvin's award of the Great Trail State Program grant. What's that?
I can do it, yeah. So you guys, for the last few months, we've been talking about the Great Trail State Program grant that we were awarded. After a lot of review, we cannot, at this time, we're recommending that you guys do withdraw from the grant. We had issues when we were submitting our initial application with getting fields to populate correctly. That was, we had grant writing assistance through the League of Municipalities at the time, and they were kind of holding our hand through it. We had issues with acquisition specifically. The fields through the portal for submitting this information requires parcel numbers, exact amounts of acreage needed per parcel, and the cost estimates of that. We didn't have that much information. We just had a set of money set aside for contingency for that. At the time, we placed that contingency, I believe, in the same line item as the construction contingency. And as a result, they cut that contingency down because it had exceeded their threshold. Long story short, we had some issues just getting the application uploaded. I think if we were to apply for this grant again in a couple years, we would be better off because we would know more about the process and how the application process works. We've also had issues when talking with the grantor. They're frankly not very flexible. We can't do really any sort of scope amendment. They're expecting full construction within 3 years of signing that contract, which at this time we do not believe to be feasible, especially if we have any issues in the acquisition process. And yeah, that's really our reason at this time for explaining why. I know Christina might want to add something here too.
Yeah, so in short, we initially had planned for acquisition, so with some type of technical glitch that in the input, that specific number was not put into the system. So that's kind of the reason that we're here today. You all had some questions about if it will affect future grant funding. I did go back and ask them that question, and the only thing they could answer is that your funding history would be included and looked at in future requests. So it's a typical Hunter yes and no question, or answer. The other thing that I wanted to mention is you can always put the project in the right-of-way if you have right-of-way. So without physically doing an engineering study, I can't tell you for sure that 100% of the properties could be in right-of-way and not needing acquisition, or if you're going to have a few gaps here and there. So that being said, and not having that certainty, we just don't feel comfortable saying, let's proceed, knowing that we don't have any funding for acquisition. We could be fine. We could go through the project and be fine and have it all in the right of way, but we also could have the flip side too. So just on the side of caution, that's what we're recommending.
Well, and just one thing I'd say too is, we have been looking to continue to really kind of finalize the Village Loop project, over many years. And if it takes a few more years, that will be the case. But we do have some other budget priorities that are coming up with some of the roads and roundabout things too. So, you know, the ones that we've already had in the works and have already accepted all of those things, you know, those are things that I think are important to continue with and complete. But kind of getting into another section of it right now, you know, I think might be better off for another day.
Sounds good, and I think
In
Jill,
addition to those reasons that they mentioned, you know, from an application standpoint.
and I think Jill will appreciate taking that off of the road tracker so that it kind of frees up some of the cash flow and other areas too. So if y'all don't have any questions or any hiccups on that, then Austin is prepared to,
There is a motion in your system that would basically authorize us to withdraw. If you guys do make that motion, the next item, we would need you guys to move a budget amendment to move some GTSP funds back in unassigned fund balance, and then the next few items wouldn't be needed.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to authorize the manager to proceed with withdrawing this Village of Marvin's Great Trails State Program grant.
Further discussion? Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
All right, so what do you want us to do with the next
The next
four
one-
items?
We need the next one, the budget amendment, to move those GTSP funds for environmental review back into unassigned
Right.
fund balance.
So, can you just read the next one, number 2?
All right, next up, we have consider adoption of ordinance to amend the general fund budget to move GTSP to unassigned fund balance.
So moved.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion.
For items 3, 4, and 5, you no longer need these since you've
Do we
authorized
need to
withdrawal.
just,
You can just skip them.
okay. So lunch is here. Why don't we take a quick break since we're going into new business? Grab a plate and we'll work through lunch.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right,
Brief recess.
quick brief recess. We're back in session. Next up, we have considered adoption of Resolution A or B to accept and assume maintenance of a portion of NCDOT Road SR 1315 Newtown Road.
So I have some good news. You all had previously asked me to prepare documentation to go ahead and accept Newtown Road from Waxhaw Marvin to the state line. Went back to DOT and tried to negotiate a smaller section to only really encompass the Heritage District, which I think was the primary intent. This will subsequently reduce the cost for us moving forward, and any type of initial cost as well. They were actually receptive to that idea, so I don't know is it A or B?
Resolution A runs from the state line.
Okay.
Resolution B is just the Heritage District.
So Resolution B, I think, is the one that you guys are really looking forward to control that Heritage District area. Austin's prepared a couple of maps in your agenda packets too. So if you are still interested in Newtown Road, we would recommend the smaller portion to reduce, that liability section for us financially and what we'd have to maintain in the long run.
Well, they're still planning on paving from the state line to
Yeah.
Marvin Road Roundabout.
Yes, and we made that resolution contingent upon that too.
Okay. I am still in favor of taking the whole section, and this is my opinion, you guys, whatever, and the reason is, one, if it's a smaller section, I feel like, DOT can giveth, DOT can also taketh away. If it's a larger section, they may be less likely to take it away from us. We can also control the speed. I know that corner over there by Heritage, we hear from those neighbors quite frequently about people running into their yards. We can slow down the speed limit if we own it. If DOT still owns it, we can't. We can also control the trucks coming in from South Carolina. Otherwise, they're coming in, they're destroying our roundabout as they love to run over all of the roundabout and then come down Marvin Road. So if we can stop the trucks and the traffic and the speed from the state line on, I think that is a better option. That is my opinion.
Well, I have to agree with Kim on that, and especially being that NCDOT is planning on paving that, so that's not going to be the out-of-pocket cost is going to be for the section between the two roundabouts anyway. So the maintenance, from my standpoint, because of the road bed and how it's designed and keeping the trucks off of it, the road maintenance would be minimal in that section as well, because it's going to be newly paved. And
Don't forget about right-of-way clearance too. Well, we'd have to be responsible for all the trees and overhead and all that stuff too. So just keep that in mind as well.
yeah, well, and again, then we have control over how that's maintained, which NCDOT does not do a very good job of that maintenance. So I think it's in our better interest to do all the way from the state line in. Again, we can slow the traffic down in that curve and make it safer for all of the residents that are in that area. It can gradually come down from 35 to 25 at that point and throughout the rest of the Heritage District, because you're coming into the Heritage District at that point officially. So I think that makes actually more sense.
But if we just have the roundabouts in a limited area, can't we still control what goes through there?
We
Yes.
should, yeah, effectively, we should still be able to.
So,
But just from the roundabout to the roundabout.
right.
So then
That's
the
it.
trucks would be going through the roundabout to go down Marvin Road to go around if they were to come in
But
that
if
far.
we don't allow the trucks to go in there, they
But we,
come.
but we won't have the,
We wouldn't be able to
The tape.
disallow it.
they're gonna,
That's what I'm asking.
Right.
If we just take the roundabout to roundabout, can we control what goes in that roundabout?
no.
Not in the roundabout
No,
itself.
because we're gonna get on this side of the roundabout.
And could I get a better, an understanding again? I know we talked about this, but we say eliminating trucks, and that doesn't mean you're eliminating all trucks. And they have rights for certain things, for local deliveries, things of that issue. What does that specifically mean, and how do we enforce it?
Well, we would have to do an ordinance, I would assume, and we would have to post it at the state line, because I've seen them in other municipalities, other places. They can do local deliveries, but like the transfer trucks that I see coming, like literally from South Carolina all the way through, because I've followed them before, they pick up stuff on 521 and they take it to Providence Road. This is not a thoroughfare for them. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, for CDL, they're supposed to be on like bigger roads, not our cut-through roads.
I think it's a weight requirement or restriction. There's a certain weight or
There's two
axle.
different ways to do it. You can do a weight requirement, or you can do no-through trucks, which prohibits through travel. It would include local delivery only, but not through travel, which is what is on Stacy Howie at this moment in South Carolina. They prohibit through trucks. So if you're caught at one end and come out on the other, they'll write you a citation for that. So that's two different ways you can control the truck traffic through. Of course, with the Heritage District, you don't want to completely eliminate trucks. So if you do, but the main thing would be to protect the road base. So most of the ordinances are 6.5 tons per axle. If you exceed that weight limit, then you are disallowed on that road. So that encourages smaller trucks, less weight, and it would prohibit 18-wheelers because they would be over that weight limit. So those are the kinds of things to look at as far as prohibiting and preserving our roads.
But to answer your question on enforcement, it would be similar to the no left turn restrictions. You'd have to have an off-duty hired or our regular officers catching it in the moment. So it would be kind of a learning curve for, we'd probably have to spend a little money up front to hire someone to, issue citations or at least warnings
They usually
initially.
give grace periods for a couple months to say,
I think usually they do, but the enforcement would be active witnessing of the issue in the moment.
They would essentially be following them
Yeah.
from coming in.
right.
And then going
You'd
over
have
the
to,
other side.
because to see if they're going through or if they're local delivery or not, so.
Well, what I would say is this too, and as having a CDL for over 30 years, professionals drive trucks, okay? This is part of their training. Most drivers are not gonna just ignore a sign. The key would be to work with Lancaster County and get a sign down near Henry Harris that would warn ahead so that they would make alternate routes. You will have a couple of offenders sometimes, but by and large, most drivers are professional. If they see a sign that they're disallowed, they won't try to proceed, so.
So one of the things I noticed yesterday is they're doing all sorts of work at Newtown and 521. They've been doing all that work, and they're substantially improving that intersection where Aldi and the gas station and stuff like that are. But what I noticed yesterday is that kind of the road work and the barrels seem to be getting further and further from 521. Almost like they're continuing to do construction or more work, even as it goes past the big
Tractor Supply.
tractor supply there. Almost all the way down to where the bridge is.
They're running
So-
a line through there too, I saw some
they're
sort of
doing-
cable line, I wanna
Yeah,
say.
so it makes me wonder what they're doing now and if they truly are preparing for it in the future. Because, if their intent is to create more side traffic to keep it off 521, and to make people go more laterally like that, we could end up with 4 lanes and, and kind of down at the end of the funnel. And then the pressure comes on the NCDOT to manage that traffic. And I think what we're saying is, for the protection of Marvin and kind of the heart, the center of our, municipality, we would look to try to protect that as much as we can in a way that's minimally from a cost for us. Because one of the concerns I've heard, and I try to correct it anytime anybody says, well, we want to do Newtown Road. No, we want to do just a specific strategic portion of Newtown Road. And I know personally and I think I speak for most, if not all, on this council.
Oh, no.
And I don't have the microphone on, so I hope you heard me. But I think the intent is from most or all of council to not necessarily be taking over primary roads in the future, that those with the most traffic, remain within DOT, but we're trying to increase the fairness within our residents, Marvin, folks, in terms of taking over the subdivisions, so they all get a higher quality of road in their subdivisions.
I will look into Lancaster County or South Carolina Department of Transportation on their long-term transportation plans, just to try to see, and I can report back to you guys regardless of what decision you guys make. The other thing I just want to add is that if we do move forward with taking over Newtown in whatever capacity, it will not impact the Marvin Loop funding or that project. I don't know if that was a thought, but just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware it's not going to impact that. In short, our consultant said it potentially may make that portion a little easier because where we're in the right-of-way and stuff, instead of having to get encroachments with DOT, it would just be our own encroachment agreement. So just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that.
Lancaster County should be a pretty easy process. It would literally just be an encroachment agreement. We would pay for the sign, do the agreement, and put it up. So that should be pretty seamless. Two things one more thing I wanted to mention. If you go with option A, which is all the way to the state line, just remember, we will have to put in some additional operation money for next year because we're going to have to be more responsive in terms of any of those shoulder drop-offs that we see. We're going to have to go out there pretty much immediately, or we would have liability issues on our hands for negligence if we don't do that. So that is something that I had asked Jill to put in the road tracker sheet a couple weeks ago. So that's already indicative of some of the numbers that you've seen, is that increase is already listed there. So just making that note.
And so and you can tell DOT that the roundabout was flooded again this morning. I mean, be the squeaky wheel for them.
Well, on that note too, I actually asked Christina to get Public Works to get an inventory of all the shoulders that are wallered out, so they have done that, and they're submitting that to NCDOT because it's an ongoing maintenance issue, and unless we prod them, they don't care, so.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion, unless anybody wants to talk about this some more.
I just want to jump in real quick and say that I think it is, to me, I know you're going to make a motion. I think if you're going to do it, I would go with Resolution A. Only getting piece and part of it is not going to have the effect of having all of it. I'd rather have none of it. Resolution B does nothing to me, or I think it doesn't help us. But just taking care of the South Carolina, the meeting between North Carolina and South Carolina, I think I would strongly recommend doing Resolution A because that's going to have the utmost effect. When you look at the cars coming from Waxhaw Marvin, and when they jump off, I don't know what the percentage is, and I'm not going to sit here and say that X percent is, but they never touch that certain end of Newtown Road. They hit the one circle, get to the other circle, and it's just and they shoot it off down Marvin Road. So that's just my pitch again for Resolution A.
Okay. Kim,
All
do you
right,
wanna-
yep, I'm going to make a motion to adopt Resolution A to accept and assume maintenance of a portion of NCDOT Road SR 1315 Newtown Road from the South Carolina state line to SR 1307 Waxhaw Marvin Road as presented.
Further discussion?
Just one question. You mentioned the contingency that they were going to be repaving that section first. Does that need to be in this?
It's on both.
It's on the resolution.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's not in what you read, but it's in the resolution.
It's in the resolution and getting the roundabout fixed
Yeah.
with the drainage. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we have considered adoption of ordinance establishing a capital reserve fund for Newtown road maintenance resurfacing.
So moved.
Further discussion? Anyone want to discuss? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks. Open topics. Does anybody have anything?
I got nothing.
I do.
Okay. Talk slowly.
I was recently driving down Bonds Grove Church Road, and as I went by Belgrove there, I noticed what seemed to be like a flock camera. You know, we've talked about those, you know, as some folks have them at the entrance of their subdivisions and things like that. They have a solar panel and a camera that looks. And I had a couple of residents, one resident that came to me to ask me if I knew what was going on about them, because she had actually gotten information from somebody at Belgrove that nobody knew initially who put those there. And there's multiple apparently on other pieces of property as well, but the question was specifically to the Belgrove one. And the understanding is now that those cameras were put up by the gentleman that bought the big house there. He's apparently a CEO at Lowe's that did all the renovations on that house and everything. And the question was, Belgrove isn't sure who permitted or if a permit was required, but there's multiple of these that seem on properties other than theirs.
So,
And I was just wondering, is that something we even know about, or is there a permit process that goes through?
we are very well aware of it. I think the one you're talking about is actually on NCDOT Road, not Marvin Road.
Correct.
So it would be an NCDOT permitting process, which we have no control over. We did have one that somehow.
And that's what I thought and what I told, you know,
Yeah.
the residents, that it may be because it's an NCDOT road, we have no play in it, but.
That's
do we know
correct.
if it did go through a permitting process? Or
It
what-
did,
What do we know
yeah.
about it?
I'll defer to you.
Yeah, so we did, we received an encroachment agreement application to install one in Belgrove. Basically, we further kind of asked some questions, and they told them that, you know, we don't think that this is needed unless the actual property owner at the corner that where it's being proposed requested it, since this was being requested from, as you mentioned, a property owner that's not even in the neighborhood. But any of the ones that are along NCDOT roads, they got an encroachment agreement through them, and we're not ever notified for the most part unless there's an active project that the village is kind of, for example, Marvin Loop, like I get notified if somebody files for an encroachment agreement along Newtown Road because there's a local administered project there, but for any other roads, we don't. So
So there is an NCDOT process, whether or not the Belgrove HOA or stuff may have been involved, may or may not have happened, because they may have even gone just to an individual property owner.
correct. Yeah.
But it's something that they should have done either way for an encroachment agreement and whatever permit they might require.
Yeah.
So who, is this actually a flock system? I mean, who's monitoring these cameras?
So my understanding, it's not an actual flock camera. I think what was submitted to us was a gunshot detection thing, and then, yeah, the two on Bonds Grove Church Road are, yes, the flock cameras for license plate readers, but the other ones that were then installed or requested were gunshot detectors. This is my understanding, rumor mill, whatever, is that the gentleman that lives in that property after what occurred with was United Healthcare CEO, was taking his own precautions. That's my understanding of why he did that.
Thanks, I just wanted to little clarification, and I can respond back to those residents and get them that info. Thank you.
All right. Any other open topics? All right.
You don't have any?
I don't.
What? You feel okay?
It'll be all right. We could sidebar and, just talk about a bunch of stuff. Next up, review of action items.
All right, going back through, we've got the resolution for Newtown Road. We'll get that sent to DOT. We will withdraw from GTSP. We have to send them a letter. We're going to try to get that done today. You guys have amended your meeting schedule to remove those work sessions from Thursdays to Tuesdays, so you'll get revised calendar invites from me, and we'll update those dates everywhere. We will move forward with the new trail signs after we hear back from PRG. And we're going to continue with the Marvin Eford Park emergency exit, going for engineering at the moment. And I think that's mostly it. And I'm going to send that resolution of support to Mr. Payne from the high school athletic boosters. Did I miss anything, Christina? Cool.
We good? All right, thank you. Next up, we have a review of the mayor pro Kim list.
It's like it changes. It doesn't change. The same title every time.
All right. I'm
All
ready.
right, Christina, have you started the abandonment process of Stacy Howie?
No, I'll have an update for you guys probably 4 or 5 months from now. Sorry. We have communicated with the property owner. There's some questions and concerns that he's trying to get addressed regarding the critical intersection there. He wants to see some finite kind of evidence that it's going to happen. So we've provided him what we can provide him to this point, and aside from that, that's all we can do it, and check back with him in a few months. He was not satisfied with what I'll let you.
Hold on, so there's a property owner that needs to sign this SFR or whatever form, and he doesn't want to sign it because he thinks that if we own the road, that the critical intersection won't happen?
No, I mean, I met with him, we had about an hour conversation and, gave him the materials, like saying, hey, yes, this has been planned and designed, however, it's not currently funded. And it is our intent, depending on our financials of like going to get that funded through CRTPO. However, he wanted basically commitment in writing, and that is something I couldn't give him because, one, it's got to get awarded. I can't, that's not my decision to get awarded. It's also up to the council to, agree/accept the award for the match to do that project on top of a timeline. So I gave him all the information I had, but yet he still did not want to sign the thing, so.
Why? Because regardless of who owns the road, the intersection's gonna get done or it's not gonna get done, and that has nothing to do with who owns the road.
Correct, that was,
Does he understand that?
yep, he does. That was clearly explained to him.
Well, he has no leverage because we can't make that call. So, there's.
Oh, no,
either-
he has all the
Well, he
leverage.
can have the leverage, but the only thing he's going to do is keep us from maintaining the road in front of his house, because we can't say yay or nay. We can try to
Oh,
fund
no,
our part, but
okay.
until NCDOT makes the call and says, we're gonna do the project,
Okay.
we don't have control over
Yeah.
when that project gets done, if it gets done. All we can do is fund our 20%
Okay.
from our end.
All right, so Austin, move that to like April.
April, we can do it.
Christina, we got the Marvin Road sign taken care of on Marvin Road, the Marvin sign.
DOT is doing that.
Can we follow up with them and ask them when?
Can.
Because literally, you told us that they were gonna do it like 6 months ago.
I can.
Please, thank you. Have we moved forward with curb gutter and sidewalk repairs?
Yes, we're waiting on the sidewalk inventory to happen Friday, and then we'll move on to the curb and gutter.
Okay, so not done yet?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Barn repairs.
We are waiting for the insurance information. I think they're going to deny the claim, so we've been waiting on that. In your agenda packets tonight, you approved a budget amendment, or today you approved a budget amendment to pay for the entire repair with a general fund balance, expecting to have that letter. So not yet, but
Okay. Hunter, Marvin Grove, that we're good doing a temporary construction easement?
Yeah, they're finalizing some of those changes, and that will be on your November 10th meeting.
Okay. Nope. Quotes for the memorial, Austin?
It's gonna be a bit.
Is it who?
It's gonna be a bit.
Okay, so let's move that to like February? Okay.
That's when I think we have a deadline for that in my calendar anyway.
yeah, just real quick, while we're talking about that, one of the things that I was going to mention to PRG too, this is Mike Cognac,
Yeah.
is you may want to do something incorporated into like the sitting stone if we do.
All right, that could
The-
be cool. We could just have
Yeah.
them engraved like one of those
Yeah.
big rocks or something over there, like,
So y'all may want to change your mind on
That
that,
could be
so just
cool.
let you know.
That would be longevity.
and it would be, over here too, like by Village Hall. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Stormwater repairs, Christina.
Should be the same as curb and gutter. It's different. Either way, both the sidewalk and the stormwater, one's going to happen before the other. We're doing the sidewalk first, so
Okay,
it's in the works.
okay. Village Hall landscaping plan? The
Yeah,
park
that was what you
landscaping
reported on
plan?
earlier
We're
about
good?
the plantings
Done?
and stuff.
Checked off?
I'd just keep it there because it's going to have some modifications.
Okay. All right, we can check off the emergency exit because you've inquired about that. And then, did you guys inquire for NCDOT about returning roads?
I have, but I have not got a response.
Okay. I'm done. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm finished. My second grade teacher would be appalled because I am not a turkey and I am not done. I apologize. Well done. I am finished. Thank you.
Council comments. Jamie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I wanted to start by saying, been kind of asking for that Marvin sign to be taken care of for years now, and I find it humorous that now we're getting close to getting it done. But hey, over the past couple of weeks, I've had 3 people come to me and say, what a great job the parks, the shape the parks are in. Now we have the leaves turning. We've got all of that going on. And I've had 3 people make compliments of the park and the general area in Marvin, how well it's maintained and how it's been kept, it gets kept up. And so when I say thanks to staff for all they do, that's an extension to the parks staff as well. They do a great job and clearly don't get recognized enough publicly for what they do and the hard work that they put in to make sure that happens. So again, thanks to staff, thanks for all the hard work. Thanks to our law enforcement again. You see them more and more, and it's a testament to them that the safety throughout Marvin is there. When we start talking about with the roads and taking over the roads and whatever, a huge part of that is safety. We want to make sure and maintain a safe environment throughout the village, and I think that's a significant step in creating a more safe area throughout the village. So thanks again for all of those.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jamie. Next up, Wayne, you got anything?
I want to thank the staff, both in the village hall and in the ones in the properties. That's about it.
All right. Andy?
I'm good.
John?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good, thanks.
You're gonna leave it up to me, all right. So, first, couple things. Thanks, staff. You guys did phenomenal on the Halloween event, just everyone being out there and being for that. Also, we had, I was amazed at the attendance of that, and I took the time to go around to all the vendors to thank them for that, and they clearly stated to me that that was one of their favorite events. One, group actually ran out of candy. They had no idea how much they would go through, and they got to passing out pens at the end. So I went to go get them some more candy, and by the time I got back, they just, I guess, had packed up their tent, and yeah. Well, kids were like, "You're giving me a pen?" It's like, I'm here for candy. It's a great event. I hope that continues.
That's the trick, not the treat.
Yeah, yeah. I hope that continues. It's just great to see families, and obviously a lot of people from outside of Marvin as well. So Arbor Day event, again, went very well. I don't know who the gentleman was that was kind of going through the tips of how to plant these trees, but I learned a few things. It was good information and very much appreciated. So all the people who participated with that, not only staff, but on boards, just a great job and good information there. Halloween, I talked about the Halloween event, okay. I do have a ribbon cutting ceremony today at 3 o'clock. It's, I think, the first dental office in Marvin, which will be right next to Publix, and that's at 3 p.m. So excited to be there. Chamber of Commerce will be there. You guys are welcome to come by and join me for that. I don't expect it to be too long, but they're closing down their office and having an official ribbon cutting day. So I'm honored to do that for them. And my final note is we're right around the corner from voting. It is a time where, the people that show up kind of falls off, especially compared to a general election. So I encourage everyone to get out and vote. Early voting ends on November 1st, Saturday at 3 p.m. So if you're not going to be around next Tuesday, you got to take the trip down to Monroe Library. So, and with that, I think that's all I have. Are we going into closed session?
Yep. So I'm going to make a motion to recess into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143318111A13 for review of closed session minutes and to consult with an attorney to preserve attorney-client privilege and to give instructions R.E. Chris/Victoria Komisky v. Village of Marvin / Kim Vandenberg 25CV0004445-890 and 3:25-CV-00087-FDW-DCK.
All right, for further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we need to bring
Motion
our pen
passed.
for minutes?
And we are now in closed session. We'll move into the other room. We need to bring what, Kim?
Yes.